are recognized as individuals to speak, we will unmute them. Board members may choose to mute themselves when they are not speaking in order to minimize background noise. For applications, the chair will first invite the applicant to address the board and give a presentation summarizing what is being requested. Board members receive the application materials prior to the meeting and will have reviewed them. Board members may ask questions during and following the presentation. Staff and outside experts will provide comments to the board. If the issue includes a public hearing, the board will then proceed to the public comment portion of the public hearing and will restate the instructions. In this remote meeting format, residents and guests may participate in several ways. Attendees should raise their hand and wait to be unmuted and recognized to speak over the Zoom meeting application or from a telephone dial-up. We will be able to hear you but not see you. Additionally, comments may be submitted by email or regular mail prior to the meeting. When we come to that part of the meeting, I will remind everyone of the process. Following the public comment portion, the board will deliberate and make a decision or continue the hearing to a specific future date. All remote meetings require that votes be taken by roll call. When a motion and second has been made, the chair will ask if there is any further discussion before proceeding to a roll call vote and will then restate the results of the vote. Okay. One quick reminder, I think it was at our last meeting, we started our new procedural agenda item of if we are still in session at around, between 9 and 9:30, when it makes sense and we finish an agenda item, we want to bake in kind of a 5-minute or 3-minute bio/stretch break. So when we get to that part of the evening, if we are still enmeshed, we will take a short break at that time. All right. Any changes to our agenda? I'm seeing heads shaking no. All right. Then with that, our first agenda item is, sorry, my page is loading, 22 and 40 Everett Street, the block at 22 Everett, MUMFROD special permit amendment, continuation of a public hearing for consideration of amendment to mixed-use multifamily residential overlay district MUMFROD special permit for the block at 22 Everett, 22 and 40 Everett Street to relocate and downsize the playground, adjust landscaping, and increase number of off-street parking spaces. This was continued from our March 10th, 2026 meeting. All right, and it looks like we have the applicant team coming in.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening, welcome back.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, Giorgio has been promoted. Angela, I believe, is with us also. Has she been promoted?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Was there anyone else from your team that you, I see a couple of other folks in the attendee list. Was there anyone else you wanted promoted?
Ken Cram should be.
I invited Ken a few times. He hasn't accepted. I'll try again. Okay, he accepted that time.
Great. Welcome back all, and happy to hand the floor over to you, Mr. Zaka, and your team to share your presentation.
Right, so just to, again, remind everybody what we're attempting to do. So the currently approved plan, I'm going to talk basically about parking. So the currently approved plan shows 250 parking spaces, both surface parking and parking under the two buildings at the 22 Everett Street development. We had submitted a plan which we had requested the modification for, which increased the parking to, I believe it was 284 parking spaces. The reason we had done that was, as we had informed the board, the foundations that were originally going to be participating, we had hoped and thought, with the playground that was going on the site, had, for a variety of reasons, withdrawn their support, didn't want to go forward with that. So we are still putting the playground in, but it gave us an opportunity when that happened to relocate the playground from the, I'm going to do it very untechnically, from the left side of the property to the right side as you're looking at it from Everett Street. And the right side of the property, the left side of the property where the playground was originally going, abutted the, I'll call it the well field for the Algonquin gas line. And I don't know why it wasn't picked up originally, but when we went out to the site, there was some odors, but not dangerous, but clearly some odors coming from there. We thought it was a good opportunity to relocate the playground to the other side. The area where the playground was originally proposed is a paved area already. It was an area that had been historically paved on the site, is currently paved on the site. So as I say, we were relocating the playground, adding the associated parking with the playground area in this new location, and then proposing to redevelop, if you will, the area where the playground originally was with new stormwater, new pavement, and striping in that area. After a lengthy discussion at the last meeting, and I want to put this in perspective. It was, I understand the thought that if you build it, they will come, and I guess that sometimes is how it was looked at in terms of the parking. We fully understand, and we'll discuss later this evening. This is an MBTA Community Act project, and the whole idea is to get the people to use public transportation, the commuter rail, etc. Typically I'm going before planning boards trying to explain why I need less parking than I'm supposed to provide on the site, as opposed to more. But we thought it was an opportunity to add parking to the site. We weren't, trying to pull off, anything that we shouldn't have been doing, and we thought it would be give us a little more comfort room with people in terms of cars. Clearly, there's no parking on the street, on Everett Street. Both in terms of the commercial parking as well as some of the residential parking. As explained, while this is built as a very family-friendly development, we have found, for whatever reason, that a lot of the tenants were on the older side and were trying to come here with 2 vehicles. Having said that, based on the discussion at the last meeting, we've submitted an alternate plan which basically leaves the former playground area in its exact condition that it is now. In other words, not proposing any striping there. If the alternate plan is the preferred plan, then we end up going from 254 parking spaces to 258 parking spaces. And in a second, I'll have Angela just remind everybody where those parking spaces are. Which is probably the best way to do it right now. If I could have Angela, if you would, just a reminder, if you could just quickly go over, if you will, Plan A, the original revised plan, and then quickly show what we've proposed on Plan B, just to remind everybody where the new striping is going and the relocation of the playground. If you would, thank you.
Sorry, I lost my mute button there for a second. Angela Botto with Bowler. As part of the applicant team, we are the civil engineer working on this project. So right here is our Plan A, as Peter referred. So this is the same plan that we had in front of you at the last hearing, with a few modifications from that discussion that we had. So that area that Peter was referencing to the left, this area is currently concrete. So we are proposing to repave it, restripe it for some parking here. One change that you'll see in this plan is we have added a pathway to the back here with this nice enclosed area for a dog run. And then one other change from the plan from last time is we're trying to create some additional pedestrian connectivity to Everett Street. Unfortunately, this area is really tight up against the wetlands here. So because of that, we were able to add a sidewalk in order to connect some of these spaces down there, but we did need to cut that off right at the 9 space mark. That relocated playground that Peter was referencing is located in close proximity to both buildings. Right now, it's between building A, building B. Really great access for all of the residents to be able to use that playground. And then I will just flip over to that alternative plan that Peter was referencing. So the plan that we are looking at right now has 284 parking spaces. And then the alternative plan here, we've taken out all of those improvements on the left side of our plan. We have kept an enclosed dog area to the rear here. And then the playground as previously proposed. Peter, did you have anything else you wanted to mention here?
No, I just wanted to refresh everybody on Plan A and just show Plan B is basically eliminating all of the parking is indicated in the area adjacent to the Algonquin open field there. There were a lot of questions and requests for information at the last meeting. I'd like to go over those very quickly if I could. So I don't know if I can do this. Let's see. Is my screen being shown can I share my screen? I don't know if I know how to do this, but we'll try. Here we go. Okay. Is that up?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not going to take these in any particular order, but these questions came up last time. So, of course, one of the questions that came up is attempting to get the residents from 22, which is down here, which is our property, which you say has this little neck, if you will, at the top of it, away from Everett Street. So what this plan is a plan of a lot of existing easements that are in that area, and we've looked at as many alternatives as we can to get people from our site as an alternative route than going from Everett Street down Washington Street, down East Street to Carroll to that commuter station. So I'll tell you, most of what you see in yellow on this, I believe, are Algonquin easements that already exist. The brown that goes through sort of 90 to 80, 84, that's an old train tracks, which I think may still be there. Anyway, so we've looked at this, and in short of getting people from our site somehow over to Wilson and cutting through that way, which basically is about the same length, we figured, as getting them down Everett to Washington Street. What we're currently pursuing, which came up, is as you know, we have the left side of our property, if you will, is right up against the embankment for the train, which is raised, and the area from along the track, as you go all the way out towards East Street, is relatively flat. So we are. I've retained another attorney who has vast experience dealing with the MBTA, and what we're currently pursuing is to see if the MBTA will allow us to basically have a path that runs parallel, but on their property, all the way down to East Street from the back of our property. So that's where we're currently at. We're waiting to get word back if they're even interested in, to be honest with you, to talking with us. We hope they are. I mean, this is a MBTA Community Act project. They're the MBTA community. So we hope that working together, we will be able to have a path. And again, just to remind everybody, the area where I'm pointing at is, if you will, call that at grade. And the train, of course, is raised all the way down, including over the bridge at East Street. So we have been pursuing that. If just to point out, because we had heard a lot of talk about a path that comes out of 80, 84 which I believe is this red dotted line. That we believe is buried in a decision because we didn't see anything on record. We have done title to almost every one of these properties, or a rundown anyway, on every one of these properties, looking to see what we could use in terms of existing easement. Bottom line is people don't like to give you easements through their properties if they don't, unless they're already there. So the reason I have this plan up is what we started doing. We spent a lot of time doing this, exploring what easements may already exist there. Since they're already there, we figured maybe people would, for instance, the Algonquin easement, if we could work because we're only looking to do walking, we're not looking to build anything on it. But so we explored, maybe we can go talk to Algonquin. If they didn't have an issue, then talk to the people who already have these easements across their property. But unfortunately, you see, that brings you out to Wilson. And then we had no way of getting from Wilson all the way out to East Street, because as they say, this is, again, there is it looks like a walkway all the way through and then that dotted red line, but we haven't seen anything that would provide any incentive to allow that. So as I said, currently we are pursuing via other counsel, hopefully working with the MBTA, and we'll continue to pursue that. We understand that's not only important to the board, but it's also important, we think, to our community if we can get them over there quicker. I will remind the board, as you're aware, that we have, because of the conditions that were in the decision, we've joined the Neponset Valley group in terms of their transportation expertise and help. We're working with them, and then we will be bringing on, I don't remember what triggers it, but we are going to and have committed to bringing a shuttle bus onto this, as part of this project, where that shuttle bus would be going not only to the Islington station, but also going to the 128 commuter rail station. So that's in the works. Once I think we have enough population there, that would be put into place. Again, these are in no order, it just happen to be the way they're on my computer. So this is, let's see if I can shrink it so you can actually see it a little bit. So this is sort of an overhead of the new playground. Since we were here last time, we have tried to add elements to this, which would, we hope, fulfill the purposes of the original playground, which is not only, for people to come and have enjoyment, but for all people can do that. So if you see over on the right side, we've added a number of things. Giorgio, I keep forgetting the name. What's the thing on the back called?
Sensory board.
Sensory boards. So there'll be sensory boards that will be placed around there. This particular item in the middle is made so that persons with disabilities can likewise use that, and there'll be other pieces of equipment which are likewise accessible to all. If I go down someplace, I have these I have on here. These are just all, I guess, different angles. This is the sensory boards that we were talking about. Okay, and this here is just sort of the layout of that playground area, which I believe is approximately, Angela, I don't want to misquote, the size of our playground now is
2,500 square feet.
Yeah, okay, so approximately 25 cents. So this is just, again, the layout of some of the equipment. Again, there's always the ability to add equipment as we see with the uses of the site. But again, I wanted to show you that we are committed to making this accessible to all. The other thing that came up at the last meeting was about amenities and amenity space on this site. So in addition to the playground, we just mentioned that we're intending to include a dog run. We found, by the way, that that's important. We have a very strict, again, this is a family-friendly development. Unlike a lot of some of our other developments, where we have very restrictive dog or pet policies, this development has a pet policy that basically generally allows pets. Clearly, we have certain breeds because of insurance purposes may be excluded, but we have a full pet policy, and it's pretty broad in the sense that it talks about how they're supposed to care for the pets. But what we have found is that because we have this pet policy, we have more pets than we have in many of our other properties. And while you can put a lot of things in writing, such as, take care of waste of your pet, we're finding that may not always be adhered to. And while we do clean the site regularly, we figure with the dog run, it'll be an area where they can do that. We also are aware that with the brooks running through this property, there are some sensitive areas, and this will help keep the pets away from those sensitive areas. But anyway, in addition to that, there are significant amenities on this property. I don't know how many of you have actually visited it, but you'll see a lot of the common areas, which we have in these pictures that show, the type of space that is available to the tenants to use. I mean, the place is amazing. I mean, it's incredible. That includes a gym area, little health area where they can come and work out. There is a lot of outdoor seating areas throughout this property, as you can see here, and these are located, throughout between the different buildings as well as within the courtyards. Again, these are just some, photos to show you. We also have an area where they can come out and cook. In addition to that, which I don't necessarily have pictures of, inside our buildings, there's conference rooms that can be used, and there's actually a library located within this. While I'm on the thing of amenities, the reason I brought that up is I understand at the last meeting there was brought up again was the snack shack. And we understand the disappointment that was expressed. And again, the snack shop has come up on a couple of projects. I just want to make the board aware, in case they were not, that at the time that we talked about the snack shack, and Georgia will remind me, we came in with a proposal with significantly more units than were eventually approved. And, economics being what it is. But the snack shack, I think all the way back in 2016, Petruzziello Properties had actually went as far and had hired, there was a McKay that we hired an architect who actually designed and had permit plans put together for the snack shack. That was probably in the vicinity back then of about $25,000 investment in those plans. They were turned over to somebody in the town. I'm not sure who, but my understanding is that those were turned over. And just as a general comment, the Supreme Companies has always, in all the communities where they have properties, has always been, I think, a good, I hate to use the word corporate, but good corporate neighbor. They do participate in the community, including financially and supporting things financially. I had gone back and got a list, and in 2025, at least my list came to, I'll call it various donations. It could be to town projects, Little League, various groups such as that. Had just in 2025 alone made contributions in excess of $35,000. So while we're not building the snack shack, we assumed that it would be a fundraising project to get that project off the ground. And I think you can anticipate that if that is the case, that in addition to providing the actual plans, that you'll see the Supreme companies participate. As a general rule, since I've been associated with the Supreme companies, and we generally don't publicize what we have done because if you have a list of 50, next day you get 150 more solicitations because the people hear that you do participate in the town. But they have always been, I think, extremely generous in the communities where they're at, especially if it is projects which affect a good portion of the community, especially the children. Since I've been more in-house, most of the requests for contributions or donations or participation are run by me. Again, the ones that are easy to approve from my end and then get approved by the company itself is things that are either school-based or where a good segment of the population, especially the younger population, is participating or would benefit from. So anyway, that was that's clearly our presentation basically for this evening. So I just want to go back to what Angela was, the two plans. So we have tried to react positively to the comments that we heard from the board members at the last meeting. It is still our preference that we restripe, if you will, the area where the former playground was, and that is the reason. I mean, it's an open area now. It would get it, and if it was done, that would get a new stormwater upgrade in that area as well, which would bring us to the 284 parking spaces. But again, we showed the alternate plan to be, I guess, responsive to the comments we heard, which I think raises the total number of parking spaces from what is currently approved by 4 parking spaces. So, Giorgio, unless you have anything to add that I may have missed, I think that is it.
No, that's it.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me. Excuse me. Thank you very much. I will open it up to staff comments.
I don't have any particular comments other than the board should be considering Plan A, Plan B, and the original plan. Those are the 3 plans before you tonight.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
I can also answer a question that was brought up earlier. So that sidewalk at 80 to 84 Wilson Way was approved. The property owner actually applied for it in 2016, and it was given an administrative EIDR approval. There was nothing in the decision about securing an easement or anything like that, but the purpose of it stated in the application was access to the MBTA station.
Thank you.
It was approved as access to the MBTA station for tenants of 8084 Wilson Way. There's nothing to suggest that couldn't be expanded to allow the general public to use that, but there's no official easement in place because it was originally established as a sidewalk for tenants of that building to get to and from the train station.
Thank you. I have one quick kind of clarifying question on some of the materials before I open up the floor and hand it over to my colleagues. I did notice we got one email. I think it was, how do we say their name? Is it the Hager Foundation? Hager?
I believe it's Hager.
Hager, thank you. I don't like to mispronounce. And Phil, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought what Phil had requested at the last meeting and that I was expecting to see was the correspondence between Supreme, the Hager Foundation, and Flutie leading up to the decision to pull out of the handicap playground. And the only thing that I've seen was an email dated, I think it was March 16th, which was actually after our last meeting. So Did I get that right, Phil? Is that what you were looking for?
Yes, that was what I had requested.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if I could, and Giorgio, correct me again. So my understanding is the Hager Foundation was really the key player at the time. The Flutie Foundation, I believe, was, I'll use the word consulting on this. I think the Hager Foundation actually came with us, if I recall, to one of the meetings. My understanding is the communications were between Giorgio and I think Mr. and or Mrs. Hager. We went back and checked. There wasn't a back and forth. It was basically telephone calls. Is that correct, Giorgio? Would you please just.
Yes, it is. And that's why in the email, he also indicated if there's any questions, you can give him a call. He left his cell phone number on that email.
Okay, thank you. I was just curious about that. I would happily open up the floor to planning board member questions, comments.
Nor could I just get clarification if that was for Wilson? What would be the process to expand that to an easement with respect to that walkway?
So the easement would need to be given by the owner of the property. The property has recently changed hands. Michael Grill was the prior owner, and I don't have it in front of me. Fairlane? Is that was the previous company? I think that Mike Grill was part of. I don't know the name, but I could provide that information to Giorgio and Peter.
So Giorgio and Peter would have to negotiate with the current owner to expand that to provide access for their property. Is that fair to say?
Yes, but Giorgio's property does not abut 88 Wilson Way, so they would need to obtain access some across the Caruth property or across the MBTA property, either to Wilson Way or to the 8084 Wilson Way property, and then obtain an easement across that property over the length of the sidewalk to get out to East Street.
Okay. Any sense in terms of timing, or Giorgio, can you give us a sense as to what's the scope of, or just the history of negotiations to actually implement that? Because that was something we discussed. It was aspirational at the outset when the original application came in, but it would certainly ease residents' concerns about congestion if an easement was actually obtained. And how would you feel about a condition for that?
Peter, I think we have. Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah. So to answer that question, so we spent considerable time. We maybe misunderstood that there was an easement in place, and then we would be able to try to get to that easement. So we have done research on every property that we need to cross over to get there. That was the first thing we did, and then we discovered that other than that easement plan that I had put up earlier, we looked at all of those easements that were on that plan to see if there was any way that we could get there. I would object respectfully to a condition, because you'll be conditioning on us forcing a third party to voluntarily or not, we could pay whatever, but forcing a party over whose property we don't have any rights to grant us rights. I think that would be, a little bit, if I understood correctly.
Yeah, but respectfully, Mr. Saka, I disagree. There's no force. It is a condition for you to gain a greater benefit, which was not part of the original plan. Because, my concern, quite honestly, is that, the efforts die on the vine once the planning board votes. And that being the concern, to gain additional benefits, which are completely up to you, and obviously whoever the third parties are, it creates either a requirement for you to meet whatever that condition may be in order to get the greater benefits that the planning board provides. So there's no forcing whatsoever. It's just, if you want to get, a change and modification and et cetera, and consideration by the board, And again, this project was originally envisioned as MBTA, and the whole purpose of MBTA is access to public transportation, all the things that, we talked about at extraordinary length at the outset. So, so you're saying that if there was a condition, you would not be accepting of that. Is that your
If
position?
the condition, what I think a reasonable condition would be that, every 3 months we report back to the board what efforts we have made and where we're at. That to me is reasonable. That way it doesn't die in the vine, but it would be, I don't know how we could have a condition that we obtain access through somebody else's property, because that's
It's pretty simple because, but so you didn't complete the thought though. If you say, I want X number of additional parking spaces, whatever that may be, you get those parking spaces once there is essentially, pedestrian egress access or something like that, which can, obviously dovetail with traffic and congestion, all those other concerns we've talked about. And I don't think it's a reporting requirement. I think it's a condition, a precondition, a condition precedent, essentially, to say before those parking spaces can be made available to you, you may want to make sure that those pedestrians can get there. And it works out to economics. It works out to, is, homeowner A, willing to part with it, or, are the conditions that homeowner A would be too onerous as compared to whatever the parking spaces issue are. Those are the things that I'm sure Giorgio can evaluate as to his, financial concern. But then there's no reporting requirement after the fact, which doesn't give us the ability to do anything about it once the spaces or whatever else are approved.
So just to chime in here a little bit from a construction aspect of it, we have to do the construction now because the stormwater ties in, the electricity ties in, everything ties in together. We can't, if we get an approval tonight one way or another, it dictates which way we go, how to do those. We can't come back and ask for parking later. It's going to be difficult to tie in electricity and stormwater management.
But, Giorgio, look, not to interrupt, but isn't that something that it was within your control? Because we talked about the entire pedestrian issue at the outset a couple of years ago.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And to essentially say the time sensitivity is based on the planning board is kind of, putting the situation, it's dictated by your construction, which we are then reactive to. It's not dictated by us being proactive regarding anything.
Oh, no, and I understand, Mr. Giordano, but the aspect of we're on the construction now, I can't come, even if we get which I hope we do, in 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, whatever that number is, I can't come back and ask for the parking then. It won't be feasible, and we won't be able to do it. We want that easement or that trail to the train station as much as anybody else, because our tenants want it. So it's a huge improvement for all of us. I think the best case scenario now is with this other council that we've hired that has worked with the MBTA in the past. I think that's going to be our best. I feel that's going to be our best case to get it done and as fast as possible.
But then you're saying you put in your application at the end of the kind of process when you're on the cusp of the construction issue, which is again not something a planning board controls. So I hear what you're saying. I understand the issue. I just expressed the same concerns that I had a couple of years ago and the same concerns I had at the last meeting. So that's all I need.
Thanks. Excuse me. Thanks, Phil. Tim.
Thanks. I appreciate the revised plans. My comment, I raised my hand at the beginning when Phil reached out, because my mind wandered the same direction in the sense of looking for some sort of, making a good faith effort, right, to pursue that MBTA path. Because to me, that sounds like the best, Giorgio, to your point, the best outcome for everyone. Helps alleviate parking pressure. is in line with the spirit of the Communities Act. So I'd be in favor of having some sort of language as a condition to continue those efforts. And we can, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't have the language in place, but I would be in favor of supporting that.
Thanks,
So
Tim.
just to elaborate a little more, where we're looking to put that connection is on that side of the, where we're doing those improvements. So it would be beneficial for all of us to get, if the MBTA does come up in a month or 3 months or 4 months, all the work has been done. Now we just got to clear the path. If we don't do it now, right now, that whole area is paved currently. We won't be able to do the lighting and the stormwater management. It will just be a path to it. So there's a lot of that prep work, utility work that goes into this point of the construction, this part of the construction.
Thank you.
Giorgio, what you just said confused me a little bit. Are you proposing under the alternative plan to do this prep work in anticipation of potentially being able to work with the MBTA? Is that new work that's being proposed, or am I just misinterpreting what you just said right now?
So currently that section is already paved. It's all pavement. So what we're looking to do is redo the pavement, add the parking, add the lighting, add the stormwater management, and that will tie into the MBTA's walking path.
Okay.
If we don't have that infrastructure already on the other side of that bridge, we can't do it. It's going to be very, very difficult to do at that point.
So was that part of Plan A? Was that part of the original, the first plan you brought, or is that something additional this time around for Plan A?
No, Plan A, which is the original revision that we submitted,
Yeah.
the one that showed the former playground area, which is currently paved, as being redone with, I think it's 25, I'll stand corrected, how many parking spaces would be there.
Right.
But that would be stormwater management, lights, and the restriping was the original revision. I don't want to use the word, was the revised plan submitted originally. And then in response, we came in with the alternate plan where we just don't touch that area. We leave it as is.
Okay, so what I said was correct, right? Did I say it?
So you're right. So what's there today is pavement. The difference is we're going to go, if we get a Plan A, we have parking, lighting, and stormwater management and new paving. If we get Plan B, it just stays pavement. No lighting, no stormwater management, no nothing. It's just pavement.
Got it. So the prep work would only be done under Plan A, where we grant the additional 30 spaces. Is that right?
Correct.
I just want to make that clear. Just a couple quick questions. How much do you charge for parking?
We don't charge for parking.
Parking's free. Okay, thank you. And then, sorry, I just want to make sure I understood everything Peter said. Peter, the snack shack thing, I just didn't follow the very end of that. The plans were submitted, and were they approved? Did it just not make financial sense? How did that end? That situation end with the snack shack?
So when we came, So again, I go back. I believe the Snack Shacks project, which came up on a different project that we were working on. When we originally came in on 22 Everett Street, we also discussed the Snack Shack project, and but we had a proposal for. You remember the number of units, Giorgio?
250.
250 units. So economically, if you will, from an economics perspective, we had indicated that with that project, we would have been able to build the snack shack. However, plans, I don't know what year it was. I think the plans are 216. I don't know what time they went to the town, but Giorgio, his company, had actually, since it had been on the table so many times, had actually retained the architect to do permit plans. So there are drawings. I mean, we assumed the town. I didn't have any discussion. We assumed whoever we were showing them to, that Georgia was showing to it, was in sync that this was what they were looking for in terms of having built. So we can I can send the plans out again. We still have copies of the plans, but they were turned over to, I'm saying the town, it could have been Little League, it could have
Yeah,
been,
I think it was somebody from Little League, and I'm not sure who at Little, I forget the gentleman's name, but he did meet with the architect and go over design and what's at Morrison Park and the brick and the colors and all that. So we have full-blown plans for that. That was 2016 when we were doing Islington. That's when we were committed to doing some work there at the Snack Shack.
I believe it was Brian Hunt.
Yes, that's his name. Good memory, Nora.
Okay, and so it didn't move forward just because from your end it didn't move forward. I just want to make sure it wasn't the town that.
Oh,
didn't move-
No, the town, I donate, that time, it was asked, what could I do to help? And I told them I would donate all the plans for the Snack Shack. And then we haven't heard anything on that aspect of it. And then when it got brought up again, at this site, we got brought up and we were talking about a different project. It was a much larger project. So the economics didn't work at that time.
I can give you a little bit more background. So that was back in 2016, and at the time, the Little League had $100,000+ available that they were looking to build a snack shack with, and the town had funding that it set aside to add a restroom to that snack shack. I think it was somewhere in the area of just under $50,000 that was set aside from funds that came from the Morrison Park antenna lease way back when. And Giorgio had paid for Mike McKay to produce plans that they could use to build this snack shack. The Little League decided they were not ready to go forward with the snack shack at that time, and the funds that were coming from the town for the restroom were repurposed into the Wentworth Hall construction project.
Got it. Did I hear you correctly? $50,000 for a restroom, Nora?
Excuse me?
Did you say $50,000 for a restroom?
It was just under $50,000. That is
Is that the going rate for the bathroom?
That's what plumbers charge, Mike.
Yeah, that's actually low. If we were to build it today, it would be well over $100,000.
Okay.
But anyhow, so the funding is no longer, the town portion of the funding is no longer available. The plans are available, and I could not tell you how much money Westwood Little League has left, but I doubt it is sufficient to build the snack shack.
Thank you. That gives me I was just curious what happened at the end of that. And then I just have one last question. I'm just trying to explore all the details here. Is there a cost benefit or detriment to the playground modification to Supreme? So are you saving money by doing the playground alternatively in the way you've presented, or are you losing money because the whole thing was going to be paid for by a nonprofit? I'm just curious what that swing is.
It's cost the same. They were going to put a portion of it up, and I was going to put a portion of it up. So if anything, it's costing me a little more than we were going to be spending before.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Maureen?
Yeah, I guess I'm just curious as to how come if where that parking area is now, or the pavement is to the left-hand side, how can that not be made in the future to have electricity supplied to it? Because it seems to be off to the side. I'm just curious, what other things would you need there?
You would need stormwater management.
Okay.
And the stormwater management ties into the entire system.
And if you were to get the MBTA approval to make that path along the left-hand side,
yep,
you'd be able to, everything would mesh together on that side. It would be
correct. We have the lighting and everything appropriated for it.
And the other question is on the on your playground, the new one, is that fenced in?
Yes.
It is. All right. And I noticed right now, there is only one seat for adults. I'm assuming you're adding a few more things. Yes or yes?
Yeah, I think there's 2 inside and 2 outside. We have a lot of seating around that playground. I'm not sure the exact number, but there's an ample amount of seating.
Oh, yeah, because the
Because
picture
that's also where the bus stop is as well for the kids.
and the bus stop, that got moved from the front over to that area?
Yeah, we put it right near the playground.
And no swings, huh?
Well, I wanted to do
You
swings because that's what I
I
had
asked
when I was a
You
exactly-
kid.
just took away my question, Maureen.
I
I'm
asked the
sorry.
exact question.
I want
I'm
some
told that they
swings.
don't do it anymore. I don't know why, but I'm told that they don't do it anymore.
They don't do swings anymore?
I was just gonna say, that's not my understanding. I mean,
It's
School
my
Street,
first time doing it.
adaptive swings are very popular and they're
I agree.
good with kids that have some special needs. And that was my question, because
Yeah, I think
I
think
don't
there's
know.
a swing that's I shouldn't say when I mean a swing, I meant like a regular swing. I think there is a swing that incorporates like a child or that's a handicapped chair or something like that to accommodate that you can put them in. I don't know the exact terminology on it,
Mhm.
but there is a
They're adaptive
swing.
swings.
Yes, exactly, adaptive
Mhm.
swing. This is my first time
Kids,
doing it.
okay,
playground
I've
like
never
this.
done them, but I know a little bit, just enough to be dangerous, and they're
Yeah.
extremely popular, and that would
A swing is a
certainly,
no-go.
why is that?
What?
Is that what you said? Is that what you said, Giorgio?
Oh no, it is a go. I'm
Oh.
again. This is the first time I'm doing this type of playground. I've done playgrounds before, but they're telling me that there's one swing that does an adaptive swing, but it doesn't have like your typical like when you go to your School Street, you have like 5 swings all in a row on a pipe rail.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It doesn't have that,
Okay.
and we can also add. I mean, as the project fills up and gets more successful, the plan is to always add and adapt depending on the tenants and everything else. So there's always room to add more, whether it's swings or more toys or however we need to accommodate.
And what is your occupancy right now? And is it still the same as it was last time?
We have 10 left in the front building.
10 left in the front building?
Yes,
So that means it's 80.
90,
I know, but there's 80 occupied.
89.
Oh, 89. Oh, 99. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Maureen.
Yep.
I have a list if my colleagues are good with their questions at this time. Sorry, I was hoping not to have a list, but as the conversation unfolded, I have a list. So if my colleagues don't object, I can run through mine, and then if there's any more planning board member questions, we can go back to them. I'll start with the walking path since we've talked about that a lot. I appreciate that you're talking to the MBTA because that's probably, it's counterintuitive, but that's probably the most feasible option at this point. However, my concerns about this, while we're trying and it's aspirational, is because I was here when we discussed this the first time. We talked about this project for several meetings, and and we were hearing that the path was going to happen through all those meetings up until the very last meeting we had before we gave you the approval. And that's when we heard you couldn't get the easements and it wasn't going to happen. So I guess I'm a little reticent to work with maybe at this point. I just based on that was, and I said at the time that that was really disappointing. And a few years later, it's still really disappointing to find out at that stage in the game that something that we had been proceeding as if it was absolutely a part of the project could not be a part of the project. So I'm a little concerned about we'll give you the approval with you'll keep working on it. That doesn't sit well with me. I appreciate the presentation of all the amenities. But again, the discussion this board had both then and at our last meeting about amenities wasn't about amenities for your development. It was about an amenity for the greater Westwood community. And you're right, that is beautiful. And I'm delighted that you've created such a beautiful space for your residents and your tenants. But I'm still not seeing anything that's really an amenity for the greater Westwood community. Um, Sorry, I have my notes kind of written all over the place. You mentioned that you don't charge for parking, but I was under the impression for additional, like there's X number of spaces that come with the unit, depending on the size of the unit, but that you were going to charge for additional spaces because that was part of the idea to keep people from taking more spaces and not using their feet or public transport. So are you not charging for any parking?
I'm charging for the parking on, but I thought the question was for surface parking. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
charging for parking in the inside of the building. That's correct.
Okay. Okay. So if people want extra spaces, they are paying for them.
Of course.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I was just surprised by that answer. I was like, oh, okay. So thank you for clarifying that. Um, the in the email that we did get from the Hagers, that it seems like the biggest issue is the private property issue. And I'm still surprised that that came up at such a so late in the game because it was always private property. But I guess my question would be, my understanding is they're trying to find some place in the town to build that. I appreciate the changes you've made to the playground, but it's still not the very unique, state-of-the-art, accessible for all playground that in many ways for me was part of my decision making when we granted you the special permit that gave you over 1.5 times what you could have done by right for the units. I think by right you could have done 102 and you have 160. So it's still just regardless of the extra parking, I'm still struggling with the fact that the big amenity for the community that was a key factor in the board at the time's decision making to grant a special permit with additional density is gone. And it was the last piece of the extras that came off the table and that was moving forward, and now that is gone. So I'm saying all this to lead up to, would you consider, and you probably don't have an answer right now, and that's okay, if there were a way to build the playground with the foundations on that property, but then turn it over to the town so it would be public property, is that something you would consider? And I don't, oh, sorry, I'm just leaving that out there, but I have one other big question. The dog run. One, I don't know that I understood that's what that was on that map. It was not in the description of the hearing notice that we had here, so I have a couple of concerns about that. But also what I heard was you're allowing pets, you're having a problem with people controlling their pets. I think I mentioned something about like the parking situation. From my perspective, that's a management problem and a concerning one because as you said, you are right on top of a brook that feeds into our water supply. So dog run or not aside, and I would like to understand what that is a little bit better. I would like to from someone who drinks this water, like that problem needs to get solved like yesterday, whether it's through a dog run or some other kind of policy. But like from my perspective, again, that's a management issue. You've allowed pets, people aren't doing the right thing with their pets. That's that's concerning that there's a waste issue in an area that's quite sensitive as far as what it is. But yeah, what exactly could you tell us a little bit more about the dog run? Because I see it looks like it's a fenced thing or something, but could you describe that? How big is it? What do you expect it to look like? Is that for tenants only? That kind of came out of nowhere. So
We just put in the dog run in to make sure all the dogs are in a fenced-in area, doing their business in a fenced-in area, and really concentrate on that area away from any wetlands or anything like that. It's not just it's not waste. It's the dogs would see the water and some of them would jump in. So it's like anything. It's a dog. So we want to make sure that we're controlling it, and doing a dog run helps it. We do have a property manager in place that does, and we do have a dog policy in place that does make sure we obey by leash laws and everything else. So, but the new tenants, they need some learning, but I think the dog run is going to help a lot of that.
and how large is it?
It
Angela, how many
is,
square?
it's just over 2,000 square feet. It's pea stone material at the bottom, and there's a 4-foot fence surrounding. They have some waste stations inside and then a bench for seating as well.
Respectfully, that sounds more like a dog park, like 2,000 square feet's the size of a small house. That sounds more like a dog park than a dog run.
I don't know what the right, to me, I don't know what the right terminology is, whether it's a run or a park. Is there a definition of it, Angela? I'm not sure.
I should have said dog park at the
Okay.
beginning.
Yeah, a dog run to me is like literally like
Yeah.
a kind of a tunnely thing where the dog runs in and does its business and runs. A lot of kennels have them. What you're describing could double as like a play area and whatnot. This feels like it's a larger conversation, especially since it was not listed in the description of the changes that we were to be discussing this evening. So I'm not sure how to handle that, but that's a piece that was not I know we had many moons ago when we first talked about this, we had talked about a dog park as a potential amenity, and the board at the time actually had significant concerns about that. So I understand why you want to bring it back, but again, this I'm not quite sure how to finish this conversation right now. Like I understand you're having an issue, but I'm not sure that this is the right solve for that issue from my
It's
perspective.
not, it's not really an issue. It's something that, it's an amenity really that we're trying to create, another amenity we're trying to create into this project. That's
Okay.
all.
Okay. I'm just checking through my notes. I think that was all of my notes. So I see other hands going up. Phil, I'm not sure if it was you or Maureen whose hand went up first.
Maureen was before me. She should go next.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. I just had two very simple questions. Do you have the limit of dogs into each apartment, or do you have a limit on how many people a dog can have?
Yes, I believe the policy is you can have one dog.
One dog. All right.
One
And
dog.
okay. And what is the parking fee actually for underneath?
I think it's $150 per car.
Per month?
That's
Yes.
correct, because it was in the marketing plan for the affordables.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Just quick follow-up. Is that sold out, Giorgio? Have you sold out those indoor spots?
Yes, on the front building, yes. The back building, we're not open yet, so we have not.
That was it for me.
Thank you. Phil, before I go to you, one quick follow-up question. Giorgio, do you have any, it's one dog per family or whatever. Do you have a limit on if you're a one bedroom XY? Is there potentially 160 animals if everybody got a dog? Is that?
Yeah, the odds of that happening are very, I mean, that's not the case right now. Out of 89 units that are rented, I think we have, I don't know if it's 12 or 15, and some of those are ESA animals as well. So it's somewhere in that range.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Sorry,
And it's
Phil.
not, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I'm just going to echo a couple of things that Ellen said because I was on the board at the time the original approval that had come through. There was extensive discussions over multiple meetings regarding the pedestrian access, the walkway to the train station, and easements, etc. I again echo what appeared to be almost the 11th hour inability to get the easements, and to say it was a significant disappointment is an understatement. I just want to express, in terms of like a sense of myself, I at this point, I have limited sympathy for you coming to us and saying, well, we have to do it now or else, we just can't it's impossible, and to make it aspirational again, because quite honestly, I expect it to be, once the approval is and the vote occurs on this, it's going to die on the vine tomorrow. And so, absent a condition, and I recognize that means it's not easy, but I don't think it should be easy because quite honestly, there is congestion. The entire point of this development is walkways, pedestrians, access to public transportation. I'm not saying that the MBTA is going to be an easy party to negotiate with. Quite honestly, you're a smart guy, Giorgio. You should have been doing it intensively for months prior to coming to us. And so I don't have a lot of sympathy with respect to that. And again, I continue to puzzle about the playground because it's always been known that it was private property. It's just a odd sequence to have the playground. And again, it just doesn't make sense to me how, given the extensive discussions, the entire set of circumstances that occurred, that all of a sudden what was going to be a innovative and substantial amenity to the community of Westwood, and to various communities within Westwood, that all of a sudden that kind of disappeared, and which is why I had asked for the correspondence. So
Can I just respond for 1 second? Because I
Sure,
think
go ahead.
we're all on the same page here. We
Yeah.
all want the access from the back. That's 100%. We've never stopped. We never took our pedal off the gas. We want that access. The second thing is the so-called bait and switch of the park. That park would have benefited somebody in my family a lot. So I know what it means to do what that park is. I know what it is to have a child that goes through that stuff. So please don't ever think that I've done something to short sight or ever bait and switch this town, because I do a lot in the town of Westwood, and I highly respect the town of Westwood. I handed Nora in a list of items that I spent in 2025, 35,000 just in 2025 in donations to various organizations throughout Westwood. And I'm going to continue to give throughout Westwood. So please don't ever insinuate that I've done something wrong, because that is not the case. I'm highly respected, and I do not want that on my record, just for the record, just to make sure we all understand each other, where we're coming from, especially for the park, because that park, a family member of mine would have benefited drastically from that park.
Okay.
Just so we can clear the air on that.
Yeah, let me respond. Giorgio, I have defended this project personally to untold number of individuals who have been very unhappy about the congestion, very unhappy about, the change of Westwood and everything else.
The congestion,
and I will my turn, Giorgio, my turn. I hear what you're saying. My turn. The simple fact of the matter is, I would vote for your project today, because that I walked that prior site. I was there. I saw how bad it was. And what you are bringing and have brought to Westwood is a substantial benefit and improvement to the town. But you're now asking for changes. And those changes, you're saying, Phil, you're saying, trust me, I'm trying to still negotiate with the MBTA. If I saw reams of documents showing negotiations back and forth, whatever, maybe you can say, it's my word that we've been trying to get those access, the third parties are difficult and everything else. I hear you, but I also hear the other residents that are saying this is something substantial. And if you want something more, you're saying, we're saying trust but verify, meaning at least I'm only going to speak for myself. I'm willing to go along with some, but at this point, given the fact that that pedestrian issue was a huge part of the original discussion, that if we are going to say, sure, you get something more, we need you to use your best efforts. And best efforts means something more than just saying, I'm going to try, and then it disappears. So Phil, I'm going to stick up for you. I'm going to stick up for your development each and every time, and I will continue to do so, because I love what you've done there.
I appreciate it, and I just wanted to say, sorry, I took that one to heart, and the only what I look at it as the only real difference, and I understand your concern, and I understand my word. I own a lot of real estate in Westwood, and I'm going to continue to develop in Westwood, and the real clutch of this is that area where today it's paved without stormwater management. I mean, we can park there today with no lines.
But
with no
Giorgio, shouldn't you have put in this application 6 months ago then? I mean, if you were expecting us just simply to rubber stamp it, then
I'm not asking you to rubber stamp it. I'm not.
But you're putting on us your construction schedule,
okay, that's fine.
Sorry, not to interject, but I see Nora's been waiting with her hand up.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to add a little context on the pedestrian path. So yes, that has been something that the planning board has been looking for, and Giorgio has been looking for a number of years. When this project was discussed in the fall of 2023, I think that Giorgio and his team were under the impression that the neighbors would have no objection and would be willing to sell an easement across their property. My understanding at the time, having dealt with those property owners before, is that they are unlikely to do that. And I think I raised that back in 2023, that it is a difficult task to try and get access across the Caruth property, which you need to get across. That's the only way from the back of this property, other than now going to the MBTA. That is a new idea that Giorgio recently came up with, and he is pursuing. To add a little context to that, the University Station project has a similar aspirational condition requiring the New England development owners to obtain a path to that MBTA station from the Courtyard Marriott property. It is now 13 years since that aspirational condition was put in place, and the MBTA has yet to allow the connection. So, maybe it's a little bit different at the larger station where they have Amtrak as well as the local train stations. Maybe they're less in, they would see less of an objection to just having a pedestrian path around along a right of way, as opposed to at University Station where we were looking for not only a path but a door into the station from the back of the site. Maybe they'll treat it differently, but it is a very difficult process to negotiate with either the Caruth property owners or the MBTA. They both have their own property right interests, and they don't exist to serve their neighboring properties. So I just want to make that clear that it was always the planning board's concern. It was always something Giorgio was looking for, but it was also something that staff has repeatedly said is a very difficult, it would be highly unlikely that we would see that happen. I wish I could say differently, but I don't think it's likely that we will see a path go through the Caruth property. I hope that the MBTA approves something, but I don't think it's something that we would see in the next few months.
That's helpful, Nora. Thank you. Because again, like to your point, at the time when we wrapped the permit initially, I think we understood that it was meant to be aspirational with the status of the project at the time, with X number of units, X amount of parking, et cetera. For me, what it's this, we're talking about changes that, and that's where it's like my not intensity, my interest in moving it from aspirational to something more real is more when we're talking about more vehicles. So that's actually really helpful context. So thank you.
So, and I understand that the desire is greater when you're giving something in exchange for that. I completely understand that. The desire is greater. The ease of the accomplishment has not changed at all. It is still a tough road to hoe.
No, thank you. That's helpful to understand what's realistic about the outcome of any effort that's made to try and find a way. So thank you. Peter Zaka.
Yeah, just if I could, just a couple of quick things. And I'm going to see if I can help wrap this up, which is always exciting to do. One of the issues of Zoom meetings is I don't have a client sitting next to me, so I hope I appear at your next meeting on behalf if Giorgio has come before you. Just a couple of things. One is when the issue of and as Giorgio said, I mean, and I'll fill my file, but we have spent considerable time. One of the issues that was happening was that, sometimes it's better not to make direct contact. You find somebody who knows somebody, that type of thing. And what we learned very quickly is that several of these properties, including the property to the right of us, which just recently sold, and the other, so what we were running into when we started trying to have conversations, just being honest, is that people saying, look, no one wants to talk to you right now because they're thinking of selling the property. And the last thing that anybody wants is, oh, by the way, we're selling your property and we just granted an easement across it. That's number one. Number two is, and maybe this was my mistake, when we heard about what we thought was an easement in place already, I had a different vision of what that easement was, as opposed to, as Nora indicated, is actually in a administrative decision that they had added a walking path basically from their own property to the front. I had a vision when it was being indicated that it was a greater, which is why I get this plan that I had showed you earlier, because we try to look at every existing easement, because it's a lot easier if there's an easement already there. When you go to somebody and say, hey, look, there's already Algonquin's already going across your property anyway. You can't do anything on top of that. So can we walk on it? So I just wanted to bring that up. In terms of my comment earlier about, coming back every 3 months, that was only in response to the comment, which is rightfully so. I understand it because I do a lot of this, is that you don't keep on top of somebody. Sometimes it sort of something falls off the vine. I'm saying, well, if you make us report every 3 months. So that's the only reason I was saying it. Having said all of this, and again, I'm going to go out on a limb a little bit here. What I think would help us move forward today is if I could have the alternate plan approved. It's relocating the playground, which needed to be relocated for, as I say, another reason, which was the odors that we found coming. So we could relocate the playground. It does increase the parking, but it's really around the playground and up the side. It doesn't add anything to I don't think where the former playground was. So we would be adding a grand total of 4 parking spaces. And then we will continue to, and then if that's something, I don't think it can be as concrete, but, having said that, to make us want to continue to, and we're going to pursue the easement, that, further addition of parking spaces, would be conditioned on us showing that, we have done whatever relative to the easement. But I think we need to move forward tonight. I think Plan B at least lets us move forward because we can start working on Building B, which I think is in everybody's interest to get the construction done on that building. It doesn't touch the former playground area. We will continue to pursue and continue to pursue the easement. And again, I don't think it's significant in terms of where we're relocating the playground, but it's not. I don't believe anybody would find it significant. We were going from 254 to 258 parking spaces, and I believe, and Angela, correct me, I think most of them we tried to get around or close to. We relocated the parking that was at the playground that went with the playground, and I think we added some spaces around that.
I think Angela nodded. Nora, and I was going to suggest that I poll the board and see where people are at, but Nora, you go first.
I have another question about a different part of the site, but I think Mike had his hand up if you wanted to take him first.
I just wanted to ask a clarifying question. In the original decision, was the condition of the original playground, was that a condition that was conditioned upon third-party funding? Does that make sense?
There was a condition about the design of the playground, but it didn't have to do with the funding.
That's what I was just I don't have it in front of me, but that was my recollection. We obviously had extended discussions, Mike, about that.
Okay, so I'm just trying to figure this out. So this is a blanket condition that the playground that we all want to see there needs to be there, correct? Like it's not conditioned upon an outside group donating funding and XYZ, etc. I was just curious. I just figured it was conditioned upon a condition, and that condition of the outside funding went away. But it seems like we would be giving a huge benefit now if we're not sticking with the original plan, right? Like we don't just undo things just because it became harder because of certain conditions. Like that should have been worked into the agreement. This is a legal document, right? So I just want to throw that out there. I'm shocked that this isn't conditioned upon the third-party funding.
My understanding is that the relocation of the playground is not due to the change in the Hager's position on the playground. The relocation of the playground is due to the concern over the odors from the Algonquin field that's back there. And that the relocation to the site where it's proposed now requires reducing the size of the playground because such a large playground wouldn't fit at that site. So I don't think it's a question of cost as much as it's a question of the physical features of the site.
Well, I think, Nora, respectfully, it is partly the cost because the original playground is substantially different than what was part of the renderings today.
The
I
original
mean,
playground was 6,000 square feet or
Five.
somewhere in that area. And this one is closer to 3,000 square feet.
and
So
it had
it is clearly a
disability.
smaller playground, but I don't think that the intention was to make it smaller to save money, although I'm sure it would be less expensive to construct. I think it was because it would not fit. You could not fit a 5,000 or 6,000 square foot playground on the east side of the project.
But the point is, it was supposed to be particularly focused upon special needs. And that was the point, which it no longer is. And that was going to make it unique to the entire town, which would then also be granted access, not just to residents, but to others in the town. So the uniqueness has changed substantially, not just the size.
It has.
And
I
the
believe
value,
if
the value's double. I mean, it's a double the size. It has double the equipment, right? It might have more complex equipment. I'm just saying, if we go with Plan B tonight, which I want to get there, but I'm just saying there's a big value switch, right? If this wasn't conditioned in the original agreement, so that's just, I don't know what the value is. Is it 30,000? Is it? I have no idea, but there is a value that's going to be transferred.
So I think you have to parse out what it is you're looking for here. The size of the playground, if it's relocated, is not negotiable. The site is what it is, and that's how much land is left. If the concern is the equipment within the playground, the board can allow the relocation of the playground, but require it to still be a universal design playground with at least some equipment that's appropriate for physically handicapped users of the playground. That is something you would be able to do, but it would be on a smaller playground. And also with respect to the size of the playground, it is still a very large playground. It is significantly larger than the School Street playground, which is the largest playground around here.
Sorry.
Respectfully, it's kind of apples and oranges in terms of playgrounds. The vision of the playground is substantially different than the vision if we just went back to what was proposed and what was going to be a participant, whether Flutie, Hager, whoever. It's apples and oranges for not just size.
Yeah, and sorry, my question was just getting to, just clarifying. I'm not saying I want to do this or this is how I feel, but if we just don't vote for Plan B or Plan A and we just stick with the original, right? It's going to cost more money for Supreme to build what was originally planned there. It might smell, right? And that's going to be, a huge downside, but like that's what's in the agreement. And so I'm assuming that costs more to do than moving to Plan B. Am I incorrect?
I would imagine building a larger playground will cost more money. Putting fully universal equipment in it will cost more money. You do have the right to deny the amendment, and the playground would have to go there. However, putting a state-of-the-art universal design playground that no one wants to use because of the odor that they're experiencing just doesn't seem like a very reasonable requirement.
And no one walked this property before this agreement was made. Again, I wasn't there, but no one, if this is such an obvious smell, if you step foot on that property, you would probably smell it, right? It's just.
Can I just say that before the work that has been done on the property was done, the odor was intense and it was not clear that it was coming from the Algonquin gas line. The brook was highly polluted. The area around it was full of dumped areas. This was a Superfund site. So yes, there was a clear odor on the property. It wasn't clear that it was all coming from the Algonquin facility.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nora and Tim and Phil. Were there any other questions before I kind of poll the board?
I had just one other question about another side of the property. I know Peter had suggested that the possibility may be to consider the alternative plan, and I was wondering if, Angela, if you could show that plan again. I'm specifically interested in the sidewalk that's adjacent to the 11 spaces on the southeast corner of the property. And I know you said that the sidewalk could only reach up to the 9th space because otherwise you would be getting within 10 feet of the wetland area or within proximity to the wetland area.
Yes.
Is it possible to have that sidewalk extended either with porous pavement or even a stone dust path? My concern is that if you don't do that, those 2 parking spaces that are in the northern section of that range will be walking in the driveway, and that is a high traffic driveway.
So our concern here with these 2 spaces is the existing topography in proximity to the wetland. So as we got to right here, we've pretty much graded this all at a safe slope. If we were to get any further up into here, it would get extremely steep and we'd start to get runoff down into the brook, which is why we've shown as
Angela,
proposed here.
I think just cut those 2 spaces short. I agree with Nora. Just make it 9 spaces instead of 11. I didn't even notice that. She just brought that up. Thank you, Nora, for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I thought I saw Maureen's hand, but then kind of disappeared. Maureen?
Oh, it disappeared.
Oh. Okay.
No, they answered Nora's question. Why don't we just get rid of those 2 spots?
Right.
Before I
Thank-
pull the board, I want to throw a question out to the board, like the dog park. I personally am not comfortable even dealing with that right now since it was not advertised as part of the application, and I haven't seen much about it aside from it's on the plan. So I would not. That's just me. But if other people are okay with it, but I'm just curious, like that seems like kind of like the elephant in the room. It's there and on either plan that we're being asked to look at. So that for me is a non-starter. I just don't know how other people feel about it.
I would want to know more about it.
I'd like to hear from Mike and Tim. I mean, Ellen and I, we have a longer history, so curious to see their perspective.
To be honest, I'm maybe less concerned about the dog park. It seems like an amenity that, it seems not standard, but at a complex this big, something that would be helpful. And I don't really see any necessary downside to it. I know, Ellen, you shared your concerns. I'm not really overly concerned with it.
I think my bigger concern was, from my perspective, that's not a de minimis change, and it was not included in the advertisement for this meeting. So procedurally, I would not be comfortable acting on it, even if I thought it was the best idea in the world. Like that, I should have been more clear about that. That's, I don't know if staff and other board members share that, but for procedurally, I take issue with that. So, I think the discussion about whether or not the dog park itself is, I get where you're coming from, but yeah, no, it was more of like the procedurally, I'm not sure I feel okay with that either way.
If I don't mean to interrupt, it was our understanding that the dog park was not before you tonight. We showed it because we didn't want to be, disingenuous and say, oh, all of a sudden they threw this dog park in. So we wanted to reference it, but any approval we understand will not include the dog park.
Thanks, because
We would have
it's
to-
on both plans, so I'm loath
Yeah,
to.
no, I understand that. We would
Plan with
delete
that
it from
on.
the final plan that if a plan gets approved this evening, we'll submit an updated plan that removes the dog park and
Thank you.
removes those 2 parking spaces, assuming you go with B.
Thank you. Then that part of it's a non-issue, since it sounds like if we're going to discuss the dog park, it would be a different meeting notice at a different meeting. So thank you. Okay, so then I guess I will poll the board and see if people feel like they are in a position to vote on either plan. If you've taken a view and feel comfortable voting, or I mean, there's always the option to continue the hearing as well. Who do I want to put on the spot first? Sorry, I'll start with Tim.
I think I don't have the context from the first time around, so maybe I'm less, feel like I was less sold something that was now coming out slightly different. I think I'm generally comfortable with the Plan B proposal, and I like the idea of a condition. Even if it's aspirational, I still think that's the intent and what we all want here. So that's kind of where I'm leaning.
Thank you. Mike?
So I'm stuck on the fact that, and please, someone correct me if I'm wrong, because again, I'm not in this, I'm not in the construction business, but you know, I might assume that the original playground might be, I don't know, it might have cost $300,000 to build, right? And Supreme was putting in half, and the foundation was putting in half. And now Supreme has to go it alone and build a 50% smaller playground. And so maybe that's just the half that they were going to put in. But there's value. There could be a $100,000 value that's being lost here. And it wasn't conditioned appropriately in the agreement. That should have been conditioned on that funding coming through, but it's not. And so I do feel like this is a big break if we go with Plan B. And I was again hoping to see, even if it doesn't recoup some of the savings, something that could benefit the community in this Plan B. And I don't really see anything. I'm happy to give you a few spots, just because for everything you do in the community. But I do see this value differential, and I'm just wondering anything can do better that you can think of that you could offer that again doesn't have to reach that cost savings, but just shows that a little bit's being put into the community versus just the property. So that's sort of what I'm struggling with, and I think I could go either way. So I'm listening to you guys and to see where you all land.
Thanks, Mike. Maureen?
Um, I'm not exactly sure where I would land on this one. I am not comfortable with, was Plan A the 34 new parking spots? Okay, that I'm not comfortable with. In the Plan B, how many parking spots was that? 4?
4.
And now it's down to 2 because he just dropped 2 out. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. That has got the smaller playground.
Yes,
And that's pretty much the differential between A and B.
it is.
Okay. I guess I would probably like Ellen and Phil's input because they have been there from the onset. They know what they have been told or, what the conditions were. And I guess I would need some clarity from you two to figure out where I would go. But right now it would be B.
Thank you. Phil?
Giorgio, I view you as a problem solver. You took a site and you're going to make it into a big, beautiful complex with affordable housing and tremendous benefits for you, for the residents, and for the town. From A and B, there's some reduction in the benefits of Westwood, and there's some increase in benefits to you and probably to the residents. And there needs to be a little bit of a balance that should be brought, I think, just to make some adjustments to that. And I know I've been harping on the pedestrian access. I don't doubt it is extraordinarily difficult to negotiate with the MBTA. I don't doubt it is difficult to get any private owner to say, I'd like to get pedestrian access and easement across your property. I also don't doubt you have a lot of ingenuity because I've seen your work and I know some of the things that you have done and continues to do. And but I am limited in my view as to whether or not it should remain aspirational. I know we keep on talking size. It's not just size. I vividly remember and being impressed with what the playground was going to be a vision of. And this is not. I mean, it's nice and it's cute, but it's just not. And I hear what Mike is saying, and I am wondering how the balance to the town is, greater to the community as compared to just, some swing, not even swings or whatever, a slide, and then we're putting up, the sensory board. And I can hear your frustration in your voice, but I also want you to say, I just understand, the 5 people that are here that you might feel like we're being difficult with you. We're the voice of all the rest of the people that would be a lot more difficult with you, simply because there's a lot of people in the town that look at this project and they say, what the heck? And I view that as being their voice. And so I'm actively leaning towards an actual condition. How we word it, how we put that condition in place, it would be on B, even with the 2 spaces.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Nora, do you have the original playground plan that you can pull up?
That's something you can access?
Yeah, I have it. One second.
I'll hold my thoughts until we take a look at the plan.
You have the renderings, Amanda,
Yes.
not just,
Let me-
not just the site plan, but because
Okay.
there were some pretty impressive renderings that, if I remember correctly, it's been a couple of years.
Yeah, but the plan that she was just showing actually calls out the specifics. That's what I wanted to say. Okay.
Okay, if you want to do that, I'd like to just pull up what was the vision as
Yep.
compared to not just the site plan. If you want to
Yep.
talk about the site plan, go right ahead.
I just wanted to see what the difference, I want to see how many, I don't have it in front of me, that's why.
So I just want to make sure I pulled the right one because there was a couple different presentations given.
The one that's tied to the order of the order of conditions. I'm sorry, not the order of condition, the planning board decision.
Yeah. I was looking at it earlier. I know it's in here.
I can share some thoughts while you're looking if that's
Sorry.
no worries. Okay. I'm not comfortable with the 30 odd spots. I don't necessarily take issue with moving the playground because I agree. I mean, the smell is not ideal. So I think moving the playground is probably in the best in whatever the playground's going to look like. I think moving it is in the best interest of everybody. I guess where I'm struggling a little bit, and not to go back to the dog park, but we're looking at a plan where there's already some outlines of another amenity for the property, but we're still talking about where's the amenity for the greater community. And I'm not trying to be difficult, but I mean, this is, I'm still kind of hung up on that because again, I made a lot of my decision making was based on not just the tax benefit, not just the housing benefit. There were other factors that played into my decision making when I voted to approve this permit. So I'm still kind of looking for some of that. And that we have the presentation.
So there's several slides. Do you want me to just go through them slowly so everyone has a chance to look? Do you want me to show a
I only
particular?
want to, that's fine. The only, I want to see the, what, with the original one you had, what it calls out for playground equipment. That's good. That's what'll help me. Okay.
If you could
Okay.
hold those slides for a moment though, Amanda, because I'm going to go back to that.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. To see what there's a couple items that we added.
Could we just, just briefly just go through the slides and
I just want to clarify. I think there's a misunderstanding too. This playground that I'm doing is costing me more than the playground you see here today.
Okay, is that, I didn't know that, so I'd love to,
Well,
thank.
what you're looking at is a playground that was going to be done by two organizations together.
Yeah, and look, this is
And
not
now this,
personal,
I'm
Giorgio.
doing, what was that?
It's just, this is just business, right? And I have to represent the interest of Westwood as strongly as I
Oh,
can,
no.
right? That's the,
And I
this should have
understand.
been conditioned, guy. Like, this should have been a condition that the funding was conditioned, right?
I'm not arguing with you there. I'm just telling you that when you talk about the numbers,
Yeah.
hard numbers, is that the cost of what it was day one is more cost today to me than it was the day one.
But
I
how
know
old,
that doesn't matter to you, but
No, I mean, it does. It does matter, but Phil, sorry to cut you off.
No, if you could go back a couple of slides, Amanda. Go back again. Back one more.
I don't know why that one's coming out
I'm not
blurry.
sure why that's blurry. No, go back to it just for a second, even though
Okay.
it's blurry. Um, and I'm only going off my recollection. This was going to provide, basically children who are in wheelchairs have, significant disabilities, a swing. It's a blurry picture. It was much better at the time. I'm not sure what happened to it, but this was
I think it was a video.
it was a video. Oh, okay.
it
I
is a
think
video.
so.
Yes,
Okay.
it is a
Okay.
video.
The video was very impressive because the point of this particular piece of equipment was to provide individuals in the town that may not be able to access School Street or get any benefit out of playgrounds, the ability to grow up enjoying just being able to be on a swing. Could you continue on, Amanda? Just a couple more. Without going in taking all night, because I know it's already late. These various pieces have a lot of access. If you can see the one that's the circled near the two gentlemen in the orange and red t-shirts, that one right there in front of it, that was going to allow, if children with disabilities were going to be able to enjoy the benefit of this. Obviously, a lot more in terms of equipment. We had a lot of input. This, in my view, is, and if you could just, go through a couple more slides, Amanda, then I think it speaks for itself, so to speak.
Yeah, Phil, I think I get your point. Can I just recommend something? Maybe it's easier, maybe for everybody, to Mike's point. And if you go back to I think the video. What if we? And I understand, Phil, exactly where you're coming from. Like I said, you want to see something like this in Westwood.
We had agreed to see
Right.
something like this.
Right. So
we had
what I'm saying
we
is,
had a condition that we were going to see
understand.
something like this.
So what I'm saying is this: what if I donate this type of equipment to anywhere in Westwood, School Street playground? I'll pay for it. I'll do whatever. I don't know. I don't know if this thing's going to cost me 30,000. I don't know if it's going to cost me 50,000. I don't know if it's going to cost me 80,000. Whatever you see this type of swing, I'll donate it to any school, playground, public space in the town of Westwood. I think I 100% agree with you, Phil. I'm not. This is very important. Like I said to you earlier, to me personally. So, and you as the board, or I don't know, can decide where it goes. I just cut the check and I'll give you the contact for this and we'll make sure it gets done.
George, for me, it's because I recognize the gas issue and the size issue. I'm much more comfortable with that as compared to the equipment issue. Now, I think we should poll the others before, I just, monopolize too much time on this. But
before we do that, though,
these pictures speak to what we talked about at length back in 23.
I completely agree. I'm not, like I said, I'm not here to argue with that. I think it's important that we do it, and I think it's important that everybody in the town can benefit from it, not only just people on Everett Street, because my residents can travel to School Street to go visit that. People on Gay Street, people all over town can visit that type of amenity.
So School Street just did an upgrade to make it more accommodating. I'm hoping someone on this call knows a little bit about that. But some of these appear to have been implemented there. I'm curious, maybe it doesn't go all the way, but like that swing you just showed, I feel like that's at the School Street Playground right now.
If that's the
No,
case, I'm not aware of that. I didn't know that.
I don't think it's one of those. I think it's, I don't know the technical term for it, but there's ones that are supposed to be accessible, but the child has to be placed into it. Their wheelchair doesn't go on, like the wheelchair itself doesn't swing. The seat is just
There's
more accessible.
there's also a wheelchair accessible one that looks like that picture. That
Oh, there is.
yeah,
Okay.
it was part of the new renovations for the School Street Playground a couple of years ago.
Okay. So you already have it.
And you can't
That's
fit
good to
that
know.
the piece of property at the existing playground at 22?
Excuse me?
You can't, sorry, you can't fit that piece of equipment at the playground at 22?
I can, yeah. I just got to take out something else.
Okay.
We're trying to.
Yeah.
It's a very. We're trying to make, so we have very. I'm not saying. Let's say we get 30 kids, 20 kids, and they all differ in age. It's we're trying to accommodate everybody, and it's difficult to do, obviously.
And
They don't
it's
only have
never going to be
5-year-olds, they don't only have
access.
15-year-olds. So I thought a School Street Playground or one of those, it's more younger kids that gather there, not an 18 or 17-year-old. So, but okay.
And I could be wrong about School Street. There was an upgrade done 2 years ago. Some of it was to make things more accessible. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah,
All right.
my sense of School Street is that that really is geared towards the younger children, and it sounds like this was going to be a bit more of an all ages, more accommodating to a greater range of ages. And if I haven't been to School Street in quite some time, but it's great if we have that there, but I think I'm still like, there was supposed to be something as part of this project. I appreciate if the town has already done it. I think I'm still just looking for something because,
Okay.
I don't know what. I'm sorry. I was hoping you'd come with some ideas. But
I don't know
I'm
what other ideas to come up with, to be honest. I mean, I thought that was pretty good, but
No, I like that idea. If there's another place in town, I mean, School Street's just one playground, but I don't know that that's with municipal property. I don't know that the planning board has the authority to say, hey, this goes there. I think, Nora, that's a bigger question.
Yeah, I think it would be very difficult to commit to another place in town, School Street Playground or any other playground in town. We don't know what space is available. I think it would be better to see if there's a way you could accommodate that structure at this playground. Maybe the sensory board could be incorporated on the additional, on the general playground structure at an accessible level, and that would free up the standalone space that was set aside for the sensory board for that swing. I don't know. I'd recommend trying to design the playground with this in mind and see what you'd have to give up and see how useful the playground is, including that.
And maybe that's the compromise, just coming up with creative ideas to beef up that spot more, that could make it slightly more attractive to what it was potentially supposed to be. And maybe that's the best solution, like Nora said, the most efficient solution too. Just to push the boundaries and see if we can be a little more creative about that. I don't know what it would be, but maybe there's some ideas.
okay.
Adding on to what's being planned now, obviously, or just modifying it, not expecting you to put Disneyland there, obviously. So
Thank you. Nora, your hand's still up. Did you have something else?
I did not.
Okay, just checking. Any other board member questions, feedback? I'm not seeing any. I mean, if someone's willing to make a motion, I still feel like I have some unanswered questions. If there's going to be a playground redesign, I think I would want to see it before I made a decision. I'm comfortable with saying the playground can move, but I don't know if we don't know what the design is, I don't know if that actually helps the Giorgio and his team at this point to say, sure, you can move it, but we don't know what it's going to look like. So, I mean, I guess that's a question for you, Giorgio? Is that a value add for you at all?
Well, I mean, yeah, if we can get an approval just to move it and then come back, and then we can send plans for the new updated, so that way we can at least keep going with that project.
Okay. One other comment I did hear, and I can't remember where in the discussion it was, but some comment about the area where the playground was going to go, that it's paved and even without stripes, you could park cars there. I get that, but I'd like some assurances and perhaps a condition that that's not going to occur. Because if we don't approve it for parking, I would like to make sure that there's no parking going on there. So I appreciate that comment, but I think that's something that if we do move forward with something, I'd like to see a condition about that in the approval of whatever it is we decide. If we're going with B, because obviously if we went with A, it would be parking. But okay. So if I don't know if anyone wants to the sense I'm getting is there is some comfort, some level of comfort with option B. I did not hear any support for the 30 odd spaces. If that is not correct, please correct me.
I don't think we have any support for the 30 odd.
That's the sense I got.
Yeah, and I support the plan B with the good faith understanding they're going to come back with a redesign. It's going to be made a little bit more attractive in terms of the, trying to move toward that original vision. I heard the passion in Giorgio's voice. He's obviously invested in this. So I'm very comfortable moving forward. With an approval now, but knowing Giorgio's going to do whatever he can to make that space into something just a little more enhanced, for that community.
So procedural question, if we approve moving the playground and then plans would be submitted, Nora, would we then have the opportunity to discuss and review the actual plans when they're submitted?
Yeah, so you can decide if you want the plan to come back to the planning board under any condition, or if you want it to be reviewed and approved by the town planner. And if it doesn't have sufficient universal design features, that it would come back to the planning board. You could do it either way.
Okay, because that's kind of what I was thinking, but that's why I asked, is there a value add in at least moving forward with the additional 2 parking spaces and saying you can move it? Because I got the sense the answer was yes, because then you can continue on with the project, regardless of whether or not you start building the playground, being told you
Yeah.
can, but that helps. Okay. All right. Thank you. That's helpful. I saw Maureen and then Phil.
And would there also be incorporating like the dog park plan also, at the same time?
You mean if we got plans for the playground to look at the dog? Yeah, I think that from my perspective, like I said, I don't see that as a de minimis change. That would need to be advertised, and then we would talk about that when we actually had renderings and plans for it. Right now, I think it's just a placeholder on the plan.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. If I heard Attorney Zaka correctly, that was my understanding, that that was just kind of there to show what you were thinking of doing, but you're not actually asking for approval. So we would condition that a new set of plans would be submitted with that removed.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. Phil, I think you had your hand up.
Maureen asked the substance of my question, and so that was, I'm fine. I think we've hashed it through. We should probably look at language.
It sounds like, and I'll try and summarize, there is board support for giving approval to via a modified plan B for moving the playground to the other location, allowing the additional 2 spots and, adding 2 new spots, removing the 2 that we discussed, as Nora pointed out, removing the outline of the dog park from the plans to be discussed at a later date potentially, and allowing the moving. I would say I would support saying yes to moving the playground, but I think I would prefer to see the actual plans come back to the board and not just go through administrative approval, but that's just me. Tim, yes.
Sorry, were we going to add the condition, whether it's, I would be in favor of an aspirational condition to add to for the walkway. Because honestly, that's my opinion. I feel like I think we're getting super caught up in the details here. And my biggest concern with this entire project is congestion and ability for people to walk easily to the commuter rail. So that's my biggest priority. So I would feel strongly about having a condition, whether it's aspirational or not. I think I still want that in there.
Well, Nora, does the condition from the original permit carry?
It does. It
Okay.
does. All the conditions of the original permit that are not contradicted by a condition of this amendment would go forward. So the
And
same
that was in the, okay.
operational
It was.
condition
Gotcha. I didn't
carries
appreciate
forward.
that. Okay.
No, I'm glad you asked though, because it's best that we clarify that, because if we needed to reiterate or add it again, it's good to make sure we understand. Thank you. Were there any other? Sorry, I'm just reading number 4 there. Shall not be, thank you. That was that to not use that area for vehicle parking. Any other questions or just, I think Phil's right. We can discuss the language here.
The shall submit the further approval. What about the paving and the parking that Ellen was just talking about?
Oh, it's condition 4.
Can I add a potential condition?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it reasonable to have them speak to a consultant in this area? I'm sure it's the people that they've been speaking to tell them kind of what they're trying to do and solicit some advice on potential ideas. And, when they present the new plan, we could kind of hear what they can report back on that. I want to, and I think they're going to do this, but I just want to make sure they talk to someone who knows this stuff. Maybe there's new ideas that come to light and it kind of fits. Giorgio is ready to donate a $30,000 swing to School Street. So there's something that makes financial sense for them to do to enhance this place, rather than just sticking at a swing structure, because that's the idea we talked about tonight. But I'd love for them to talk to somebody and brainstorm, just, for a conversation or two.
So just to clarify, do you want me to redesign my playground, or do you want to see where we could put that 30,000 other place in town?
No, I think it would be in your playground, just because that's the easiest and best way to do this, right?
Okay.
Again, I'm not going to hold you to the 30,000, but there's something you want to donate here that you're going to enhance your current design with. I'd love for you to consult with the people who know the most about what you could use that money towards and enhancing your current design,
Of course.
I'm sure
Mike,
you do that anyway and just going about your business, but
We do.
I think that goes to 3, which, since it comes back with a revised playground plan, we would be given review and approval at a future date.
Mike, you've actually made me think of a question. I guess this is a Giorgio question. I understand that the Hagers and the Flutie Foundation won't be contributing financially, but would they be willing to just advise in the capacity that Mike suggested? Potentially, just to guide, like maybe the swing's not the right that, to kind of really advise of what would be the most value add for that type of goal to add to this.
To be honest with you, the advising they're getting is from the company that I actually hired, Heinz. I forget the name of the company. Heinz. They do all the playgrounds and they did one in Waltham. I think it was actually in Boston Globe a couple months ago. And I actually hired them, so they were consulting through them.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
I feel confident that I got the right company to do
That's
it.
perfect. So you already have the in there, that you've got that taken care
Yes.
of.
Yeah, we
Great.
were dealing with them in the beginning.
Great.
we don't have to condition it, but it would be great if, when we meet again, you can kind of talk a little bit about what their ideas were and how they were incorporated. But there's one last thing does there need to be a public access here? That was the part of the original, right? Will people from the public be able to access, people with disabilities be able to access this? Is there a public part to this that needs to be?
You need more
Playground
parking for
is
that.
Required by the original decision to be open to the public. So unless you put a condition that alleviates that, it would still have to be open to the public.
Because that was in the original, right, Nora?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And
I think.
Yeah, sorry.
I think I'm okay with 3. Mike, I don't know if you.
I'm fine.
still-
I'm fine.
Yeah, I think I'm okay with the language of 3. I'm just looking and focusing a little more on 4.
While Phil's reading, I will say I was not being flip when I said I know it sounds counterintuitive, but I really do think trying to work with the MBTA is probably the most viable option for getting the walking path, even though that sounds crazy. But I'm happy to hear that you have someone who's talking to them. I think it was Phil who made the point. It's an MBTA legislation development. It would be really wonderful if they were willing to work with you and facilitate the pedestrian access that is such an integral part of the legislation itself. So I'm
The entire statute is based upon that. I mean, but it doesn't necessarily mean the left hand of, state government is going to know what the right hand is doing, but it is a integral part having, we talked about that so many meetings. It's just, I just,
From a
So-
construction perspective, it'll take us 2 days to do it.
right,
It's so
exactly.
easy.
If they say
Yeah.
it's okay to use their property, it's the most expeditious and most
Right.
straightforward way to do it. So I
and
really
that's,
appreciate you making that effort, and I'll send all the good vibes that they will work with you to do that, because that would be
and Giorgio, if you can get it done, then you are a magician, because the real fact of the matter is it would also be not just a great, promotional tool for Everett Street. It would be it would be an implementation of the actual statute's intent. So I think it would be,
I agree.
if you're able to get it done, wave the Supreme Giorgio magic wand and see what you can do.
I'll
I
get it
think
done.
I think I'm okay with 4. I don't know about anybody else, but I think I'm okay with 4.
Yes, that's kind of what I was thinking, because again, I would be more open to discussing additional parking spaces if we're able to get that pedestrian access. So again, I've got my fingers and toes crossed that the MBTA will work with you on that, because I think that would be a win for everybody. So
Absolutely.
thank you.
Yeah, sorry to
Any-
interrupt. I do think 3 needs to be revised. 3, as it reads now, will require Supreme to put in the swing structure if possible, even if their consultant comes back and says, for that value, you could have these 3 things and, that might be better, right? I want to make sure they have flexibility here.
But it says if possible,
It
Mike,
says if possible.
including if possible. Hold on. I mean, if possible is, certainly, I think as
I
I
understand.
guess the word is if
Anything's
practical as
possible,
compared to
Phil.
possible.
Anything's possible.
Well, then you say if practical or
Yeah,
something else.
If practical, could be, or for example's fine. I
Or
think
reasonable, you could say if reasonable. I don't want to say if commercially reasonable, because then that brings in a cost. You could say, if reasonable.
I think
Mike, you have my word. You're gonna have the Rolls Royce of swing sets there in that location, all right?
All I'm
Giorgio,
saying
that's
is
now on the record. You just, I don't know if
Could
you want
be
to be
something
saying
else.
that.
I'm not
Well,
worried
yeah,
about the
no,
record.
sorry, Mike. If I'm hearing you, because now you've got me thinking again, if the expert consultants say the swing set isn't the best use, and there's another piece of equipment, is that what you're
Yes.
trying to get at? You
Yes.
don't want to lock them into a swing
The way
set?
it was written locks them into a swing set no matter what. I
Right.
want to give them flexibility to do what they think is best. So
Well, if reasonable, I think gives more flexibility as compared to possible. I agree with you that possibilities are
Potentially including, I like that.
I'm fine with that.
A swing, yeah, or comparable, whatever. I don't know what the right terminology is, but I understand what you're saying, and I agree with that. That
go
if
with
that,
potentially including. I would go with that.
I think that's reasonable. And I think we all we understand what the goal is. It's whatever's the right,
That fits.
Mike, you good with 4?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Alan, you good with 4?
yeah, I like 4.
Tim, Maureen, you guys
Yes.
good with 4 and 3?
Yep.
Yeah.
Can I read?
Yes,
I'm
please.
good. I move that the planning board grant the requested amendments to the mixed-use multifamily residential overlay district special permit and consolidated earth material movement environmental impact and design review EMMEIDR, approval for the block at 22 and 40 Everett Street, as shown in the alternative site plan dated May 25, 2023, and revised through April 2nd, 2026, as described in the application, therefore, submitted to the planning board and filed with the office of the town clerk on December 9, 2025, with the following conditions. 1, except as modified by the conditions and finding hereof, the project shall comply with the project plans and with the conditions of all prior decisions for the property in all respects. And the applicant shall pursue completion of the project with reasonable diligence and continuity.
Phil, I'm
Two.
sorry, I need to stop you for 1 second.
Sure.
Procedurally, this is a public hearing. So before we take a motion, we have to take public comment. So I will very quickly open the floor to public comment. If there's anyone here who would like to comment
Thank
on
you
this
for reminding.
application. Yeah, no, our discussion was quite
Totally.
robust.
Yep.
If there's anyone present who would like to offer public comment or ask a question, please raise your hand or enter your question or comment in the Q&A section. And just please include your full name and address. We'll give it a moment. While we're giving it a moment, procedurally, does Phil need to start over or can he pick up where he left off?
You can pick up where he left off.
Okay.
So I finished 1. I was going to 2.
Okay. I am not seeing any public comment, so we will close public comment. Phil, feel free to continue.
And I'll continue. And incorporating the prior statement I made, prior portion of the motion. Number 2, the applicant shall revise the alternate plan to remove the proposed dog park and 2 of the 11 parking spaces in the southeast corner of the property so that all 9 remaining parking spaces are sufficiently served by the proposed sidewalk leading to Everett Street, and so that the revised plan shows a total of 256 parking spaces and shall submit the revised plan for review and approval by the acting town planner. 3, the applicant shall redesign the relocated and resized playground with universal design features accessible to persons with disabilities, potentially including a swing structure that is designed to accommodate 1 or more wheelchairs, and shall submit the revised playground plan for further review and approval by the planning board. 4, the paved area to the west of 40 Everett Street shall be maintained in the same manner as all paved parking areas in accordance with the operations and maintenance plan, but shall not be used for vehicle parking or storage without further approval by the planning board, which approval shall not be granted unless and until the applicant is successful in securing rights for a continuous pedestrian path from 40 Everett Street north and west to the Islington MBTA station.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll take roll call. Phil?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Maureen?
Aye.
Mike? You're muted, Mike, sorry.
Aye, thank you.
Yes, thanks. I vote aye as well. That motion carries. I think we have one more, because Nora, right? Any new discussions on the plans and or dog park? That would be a whole new public hearing, right?
You don't have to have a whole new public hearing. You can choose to continue this hearing.
With that motion having been granted, so we can just continue the rest. Is that right,
But
Nora?
how would we just have to re-advertise to update what we would actually be discussing?
No, I think it's all part of the same hearing. There's no reason that you wouldn't be able to consider the revised playground plans under the same hearing. And if
Okay.
your agenda item references that you'll be considering a dog park, you can have that too. The building
Okay.
commissioner has already weighed in that the changes proposed for putting up fence and a changed surface, as long as it remains a pervious surface, remains pervious, and impervious remains impervious, that's a de minimis change. But if the board would like to see that, they could include that in a continued session of the hearing. It would just have to be posted on the agenda appropriately.
Okay, so as long I understand from the building commissioner's perspective, because materials wise it's de minimis change. I'm thinking more about use. I think, you know, residents in that area would want to discuss, at least have the opportunity to be made aware that that's something that would be coming up. So as long as it's okay under the agenda item and we include it before we discuss it, I'm okay with that. So if it makes sense to just continue the public hearing rather than close it and have to go through advertising it all, I think that's probably the better option.
So the only question then I'd have is for the date of continuance, whether or not Giorgio and his team would be ready on April 21st, or if you'd prefer to go to a future meeting.
Can we get it done by April 21st, Giorgio?
I should be able to. If anything changes, we can, I can update you, but we can push it. But I'm gonna,
I'm not
And then
around.
push it out. Let's,
Giorgio,
yeah,
I'm not
let's-
around on the 21st, just for you.
Neither am I. I think that's school vacation week.
Oh, you're right.
yes.
Right.
So
Is there a May meeting that would work?
There is, let me just get the date. Do you know it off the top of your head, Amanda? I think it's the 19th.
May 19th.
Yes, May 19th.
Oof, I'm not around. All right, either way, we can make it work.
Does it work
Well,
if we put in May 19th now, and then if you want to continue it ahead, we can
Or
can-
does
or
the
does it
April
work if we put
21st?
April 21st and then
Yeah.
continue that? Because I mean, you can, quite honestly, if you have an internet connection, I hate to say it, but you
Yeah.
might be in the
Well,
Caribbean
you're
or
all Zoom,
wherever.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Maybe
Bill,
do
I
April
just realized
21st
that
and
too. Yeah.
just log in from the beach.
Good
Just-
idea.
So
Bill,
April,
I'm going to Canada though.
Yeah,
so from the
well,
mountain.
they got beaches up there, only they're cold.
So Giorgio, does April 21st, at least right now, work for you better?
It does.
Okay, all right. So it looks like we can just continue this public hearing to April 21st.
May I ask a procedural question to Nora, if I may, or through the chair?
Absolutely.
I just want to make sure that while we're continuing the public hearing, that this vote,
The decision is valid. They voted to grant approval with conditions. Continuing the public hearing allows you to make further changes that the board could.
okay, I just want to make sure we can,
Another
not hold
decision.
up going forward at all on what has been voted.
Yeah. Okay, we've already voted on what has occurred, so,
Great.
okay. All right, we're going the April 21st. I move that the planning board continue the public hearing for the requested amendments to the mixed-use multifamily residential overlay district special permit and consolidated earth material movement environmental impact and design review, EIDR, approval for the block at 22 and 40 Everett Street. As described in the application, therefore, submitted to the planning board and filed with the town clerk on December 9, 2025. To the planning board meeting on Tuesday, April 21st, 2026 at 7 p.m. via Zoom, where a Zoom link and associated calling numbers will be provided on the town's calendar at westwoodma.gov.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the continuance? Seeing none, I'll take roll call. Phil?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Maureen? You're muted. Sorry.
Aye.
All right, thank you. I vote aye as well. That motion carries. We will see you on the 21st. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Have a
Thank
good
you,
night.
guys.
Thank you.
Good night.
Appreciate
Thank you
your
all.
patience.
I appreciate
Thank
it.
All right. And yes, thanks to all involved. That was a pretty heavy discussion, but I think we were clear and we got to a good place in the end, and we will take that back up on the 21st. All right. Our next agenda item, sorry, is warrant articles, and I believe this is actually quite a brief agenda item. Continuation of public hearing for consideration of proposed zoning bylaw, zoning map, and/or general bylaw amendment articles for the May 2026 annual town meeting, continued from March 25th, 2026. Nora, one quick question procedurally, as this is the public hearing. Even though our action is quite short, do we need to take public comment?
Yes,
Okay.
so you would just express your intent to vote on the articles as they've been finalized, as they were reported to the FinCom on March 25th. Take any public comment on it, and then you would look to vote to recommend those same articles exactly as written to town meeting voters.
All right, thank you. So I will express our intent to make this one motion to recommend the articles as written to the town meeting voters for approval. And I will open up the floor for public comment. If there's anyone who would like to comment on this particular agenda item, please raise your hand or enter it in the, do we not have Q&A anymore? Is it just chat? Or no, I'm sorry. It was just my screen into the Q&A, not the chat feature in the Zoom app. Just please include your full name and address for the record. I'm not seeing anyone volunteering for public comment, so I would entertain a motion.
I move that the planning board recommend town meeting voter approval of 9 planning board sponsored warrant articles as follows. Article 23, zoning bylaw amendments relative to animal daycare, PB3. Article 24, zoning bylaw amendments relative to adult daycare, PB2. Article 25, zoning bylaw amendments relative to indoor commercial recreation, PB9. Article 26, zoning bylaw amendments relative to battery energy storage systems, PB1. Article 27, zoning bylaw amendments relative to definitions, PB4. Article 28, zoning bylaw amendments relative to Administrative Research Office, ARO District, PB6. Article 29, zoning bylaw amendments relative to dimensional regulations, PB5. Article 30, zoning bylaw amendments and general bylaw amendments relative to short-term rental properties, PB7/8. And Article 31, housekeeping amendments, PB11.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll take roll call. Tim?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Maureen?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. That motion carries. And then I believe we have another motion on this one.
I move that the planning board close the public hearing for consideration of proposed zoning bylaw and general bylaw amendment warrant articles for the May 2026 annual town meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll take roll call. Mike?
Aye.
Maureen?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Vote aye as well. Our public hearing is closed, and to all of our new board members,
I
congratulations.
was
You
just
have
gonna say, good
completed
job,
your
everyone.
first zoning article cycle with this board. Nice work.
There you go.
All right.
Now we still just have to get through town meeting there, Al.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
one bite at a time, right? All right. Our next agenda item is agenda item 3, rules and regulations, which is a continuation of a public hearing for consideration of amendments to various planning board rules and regulations, standards, guidelines, and meeting procedures. And this was continued from February 10th, 2025. No, February 10th, 2026. Sorry, a little bit of a typo there. So I think what would be best, since there are many of these, and I know we've all been very, very busy with our warrant articles, I think what would make the most sense with these is to take them in chunks. We did get a request from staff to look at policies and procedures this evening. We can go through it all together. And then the other task, I think it would be ideal for us to take action on that this evening if we can come to consensus, and then pick 1 or 2 of the rules and regs sections to put on our next agenda. There's no proscribed amount of time. It's not like warrant articles where we're on a schedule. We can take these in chunks so that we're not overextending ourselves for any one meeting. So if nobody objects, I think it would be good to start with planning board policies and procedures. That's very alliterative. And then we can have a discussion about which one or ones we want to take for our next meeting.
Sounds good.
Excellent. All right, Nora, I'll let you drive the bus.
Right. So this is a document that I originally asked Elijah to draft back in May of 2025, when it was becoming increasingly common for planning board meetings to go later and later and later. It took a while to get this done, but it was part of your packet in December. And now I would like the board to take it up, especially in order to set firm guidelines for the length of meetings. So tonight, it's now 9:21, and the first item on your agenda, understandably, took a long time. That was over 2 hours to get that agenda item finalized. I think we can usually anticipate approximately how long an agenda item will take. And the times we run into the most problem with meetings running late into the night is when there are simply too many applications before the board to consider in one night. And right now, without policies and procedures that dictate otherwise, staff is required to accept all applications that come in by a certain deadline to be put on the next meeting agenda. So the main concern that drove the formation of these policies and procedures was trying to adopt procedures that would allow the planning board to have a firm cutoff time of 10 p.m. and then provisions for extending that when necessary. And in order to be able to accommodate the appropriate number of applications that could be considered before that time, there are also procedures in here that specify the first, I think it's 4 applications that come in would be placed on the agenda, 5th and later would be going on a subsequent meeting. So that is my proposal to you. I don't know if board members had a chance to read through this in the meeting packet, or if you'd like me to read it now or summarize it, how you'd like to go about considering this document. It's about 7 pages long.
That's a good question. With zero offense intended towards you, I am hoping we don't say we want the whole thing read out loud. Because that is 7 pages, which is exhaustive for Nora. I guess the first question is, did everyone take a look at these? Did you get a chance to take a look at these?
Yes.
Okay.
This one,
This one?
yeah.
I'm a huge fan of this. I think that is, I totally understand that with nothing saying otherwise, staff has no choice except to take any and all applications that come in before the proscribed cutoff as, prescribed by law. But if we supersede that with we're only going to take X per meeting, I think that solves a problem for all of us. So I am very excited about this. So I'm very happy we're going to look at this and hopefully take action this evening.
But could I suggest that we just like slowly scroll and we don't need to read. I mean, we
Right.
all, but I would just, Nora, maybe just like touch upon authority, membership.
Sure.
I mean, some of these are very self-explanatory, but then,
I think the majority of them are. There are some that probably add
Yeah.
new things or clarifying things. There were questions that have come up over the last year as
Yep.
well that I tried to answer in this. So the authority, where you get your authority is from the town charter and from MGL 41, section 81A.
Mhm.
Membership is 5 elected board members, staggered 3-year terms. That's nothing new. Again, in accordance with MGL 40A, Section 9, Section 4 of the town charter, you can have an associate planning board member. That spells out, it's just really repeating what comes out of the charter. And it says when the associate member is able to serve, they're only able to serve on special permit applications. Officers, it just defines the terms, which you'll be at your May meeting asked to consider these positions. There's the chair, the vice chair, and secretary. Standards of conduct, it references the open meetings law and explains what is expected of elected members based on the open meetings law. Essentially, no communication between members, whether in person, by phone, by email, or through social media. Everything should go through staff. It explains conflict of interest and what the procedure is if you think that you may have a conflict of interest. Gives you the phone number for calling the attorney of the day at the Ethics Commission if you need advice based on your potential conflict. It explains that if there is a case of a conflict, that member shall leave the meeting. So if we're meeting in person, you leave the room. If we're meeting electronically, you leave the Zoom meeting.
Could we go
This
back
is
to the conflict of interest, Nora,
absolutely.
just briefly, because touching upon with the Ethics Commission, having called them, they don't necessarily give you clear-cut advice as to, I mean, they provide scenarios, they talk about, and they're very good, but the I guess the point is in the event a board member has a conflict of interest, which I see as not as clear cut, particularly as just having talked to the Ethics Commission on a couple of issues, it doesn't necessarily go to shall, or I just wanted, this was one that I just wanted to talk about, because I've talked to Pat about different issues also, and it doesn't necessarily provide the black and white that this particular provision provides.
This is just giving you an example of, it doesn't say you have to, it's saying that you have the opportunity to, if you have a question, to contact the attorney of the day. What they do is they try and walk you through your potential conflict. They won't tell you what to do or what not to do. They'll tell you, if you believe you have a conflict, do this. If you think for these reasons you might not have a conflict, then you don't have to worry about it. But they don't make the decision for you. It's still your decision to make. And if you've made a decision that you have a conflict, that's where this provision comes in. The second sentence says, no board member shall participate in an official capacity in any matter in which such participation is prohibited by the conflict of interest law. But it's your determination of whether you have a conflict. If you make the wrong if you determine you don't have
Well,
a
you
conflict
make
and
the
someone
wrong decision.
challenges that later.
Yeah, and then you expose yourself. So that's
Correct. So you should always err on the side of
caution. Absolutely.
I think the other, sorry, Phil, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, not playing over lawyer, but all those issues that we were just citing there are silent in this second paragraph.
Yeah, and just to add, like the ex parte communication, it's just similarly, like I would need to review it. I'd make some suggested edits, but for instance, if I bumped into Giorgio on the sidewalk and I said hello, technically that would fall under this category. Like I conversed with an applicant, right?
That section needs a caveat to say on matters related to plan. Yeah, that was my comment.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I would say more Mr. Zaka, just partly because he's an attorney and I have matters I have not had one at all, I think, but I do have matters in which he could possibly be a person on other clients. So
it's a small town.
Yeah.
And to his credit, Giorgio he doesn't just build a development and walk away. I see him around Islington all the time. So yeah, I think that's the odds of bumping into him or some of our other developers who are members of our community residents as well. I think that's.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking more just, I'm drawing a blank on his name. He was involved in the land trust issue. Who's the attorney, Ellen? Spoke very passionately at the special town meeting.
Oh, Dan Bailey?
Dan Bailey. So I could interact with Dan Bailey pretty easily. Not pretty easily, but that's a possibility if there was something going on. So,
I think that's good to discuss matters before the board. I think
we're good with just that one caveat. Yeah.
Good call.
For the COI, Phil, what if we made, if a board member, reasonably believes there's a potential conflict of interest, could we say they shall consult the Ethics Commission? And if the Ethics Commission says they should not participate, they shall not participate? Is that?
They won't say that. So
you're right.
Having talked to them, they don't tell you that. Yeah.
You're right.
They kind of, which is, I mean, presumably the way that they should operate, which is they discuss all the issues and then say, you now have to make the decision to you. So,
they walk you through the decision-making process.
Right.
I mean, there's some cut and dry stuff, right? Like they're
of course,
say you choose your own, but if you do this, we're going to bring an action on you. We're going to fine you.
Well, so if I become a silent partner in Supreme and then vote on Giorgio's amendment, that would be a big issue. And I will say for the record, I am not, nor would be. But the thing, I think there's more gray areas, and that is not dealt with in the conflict of interest provision.
I see Amanda's hand up. that seems like a segue. I think she has something to share.
I think it's important to remember that this document doesn't replace or override your conflict of interest obligations. This is just simply a summary of your obligations. It doesn't change the training that Dottie or town clerk will send you every 2 years. It's not meant to replace any written documents. So I don't know that we need to be
Mm.
fully, you know, picking apart this just in the sense that it's meant to be a general reminder, not an
Well,
actual like governing.
but Amanda, what if it's inconsistent with some of the training that we've gone through with Dottie, which we all have?
Well, I guess my question is, do you feel it's inconsistent as it's written
Well,
now?
I can't say that I've reviewed recently, you know, and did not, I had a pretty busy schedule when this came out and did not review it again. Careful, I mean, I went through it, but just, I have not looked at the prior training that I had done with Dottie.
Yeah, I think we can look at this and offer Nora some ideas potentially just to make it not so black and white. And you don't want to be violating planning board policies, right? So
Well, that's the point.
it's
Yes.
we'll figure this language out, but we can continue, I think.
Yeah, let's go on.
All right, then the next section deals with meetings, talks about what is a meeting, where are the notices and agendas posted, gives the option for in-person meetings or virtual or hybrid meetings at the discretion of the chair. Also brings in remote participation, which is something before COVID. We used to have an opportunity for remote participation, and that law remains as it was written back then. So we reference that law and explain how you can join by remote participation if it's an in-person meeting. We talk about meeting cancellation. So this comes up more often than not in regards to snow day. It could happen with someone just having an emergency conflict as well. This has to do with if we have less than a quorum of members, what do you do for a cancellation? And especially if you have a public hearing that's scheduled for that meeting. So this sets forth a procedure for how you would continue a public hearing if you didn't have a quorum of members to act. And then the next section, meeting duration, this is what I was referring to, which I think is the main purpose for adopting these as soon as we possibly can. So I'll read this section. No meeting shall extend beyond 10 p.m. unless a majority of board members vote to extend the meeting to a specified later time. If a majority votes to extend the meeting past 10 p.m., that extension shall be for a maximum of 2 hours, and the meeting shall end no later than 12 a.m. midnight. Any public hearings that are either in progress as the meeting draws to a close or on the agenda but not yet open shall be immediately continued to a time and place certain. Where public hearing continuations are necessary due to the automatic close of the meeting, said continuation shall be no longer than 2 weeks following the date of the automatically closed meeting, unless a later date is consented to by the applicants. Any agenda items not subject to a public hearing that are in progress as the meeting draws to a close or on the agenda but not yet taken up shall be placed on the next available meeting agenda. So what that's saying is if you don't happen to have a meeting in the next 2 weeks and you have a public hearing that you can't complete before midnight, you will need to meet again sometime within those next 2 weeks. For the most part, your hearings are scheduled 3 weeks apart. There are some times when it's 2 weeks. Your next meeting is 2 weeks from today, but then we will go, I think, 4 weeks after, was from April 21st to May 19th. I think that's 4 weeks. So in a case like that, if at your April 21st meeting you had a hearing and you were unable to complete it by 10 and a majority voted to continue it through until midnight and you were still unable to complete it, you would need to hold an interim meeting in order to complete that hearing.
Unless the
Unless the
applicant had
applicant-
consented,
Yes,
unless
yes,
the applicant consented.
correct.
I'm okay with that.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty excited about this part. Just going to be
Yeah.
honest.
So this is actually that time now. It's 9:36. So this it formalizes the need for a recess if a meeting lasts more than 3 hours. And you might want to change that to more than 2.5 hours, that a recess will be taken.
Yeah.
Do people like 3? Because that would take us, if we're saying we start at 7, we end at 10. In
Then
theory,
it's if you would vote to extend beyond 10, you will take a recess.
right. Does that work, or do people think 2 and like is 9:30 better for people? Like 2.5. I'm open either way.
I'm fine with 10 because if we're going to extend, we
Right.
should take a mini break
Right.
at the extension.
I think that lines up. I can power through between, if it's 2.5 to 3, I can probably power through. So unless, and obviously if something comes up and people need to step away, someone can always make a motion. There's nothing preventing us from
There's
taking.
nothing preventing you. This is just formalizing that you will have to do that every meeting. If you go past 10, you'll need to have a recess.
Yep.
Perfect.
All right, this section on attendance and participation is just explaining the obvious. So planning board members are elected to attend and participate in meetings, so it's expected that you'll be there unless there's extraordinary circumstances. Let's see. If a situation arises which prevents a board member's attendance at a scheduled hearing, said board member shall inform the chair and the town planner by email of the board member's unavailability at the earliest possible date. So when you have a conflict, just let us know. That's important, especially if there's a case of a special hearing, and if you're not going to be available for the special hearing, the chair may want to ask the associate member to step in. The next section is about a quorum and call to order. 3 board members constitute a quorum. The chair shall call the meeting to order at or after the scheduled meeting time when a quorum is present. Motions and voting explains what you all already know. Matters requiring a majority vote take 3 votes. Supermajority takes 4 votes. Abstentions and recusals. This explains what happens, how you count a vote when someone abstains or recuses themselves. A board member who does not wish to vote on a matter may abstain from voting. An abstention shall not count as a vote in favor of nor a vote against a motion, but the abstaining board member shall be counted towards the quorum of board members required for a vote to proceed. So if you need a quorum and someone abstains from voting, you didn't lose your quorum. You can have a vote of fewer than 5 members, and it can still be a valid vote. A voter who has a conflict of interest or potential conflict of interest, which has not been ruled out by the time of the vote, shall recuse themselves from voting. So that's different than an abstention. A recusal shall not count as a vote in favor of nor a vote against a motion, but the recusing board member shall not be counted toward the quorum of board members required for the vote to proceed.
Nora, what does ruled out mean?
If the potential conflict of interest maybe that's not the right term, if they have not determined, a voter who has a potential conflict of interest, which has
Right,
not been
I'm
ruled out.
thinking
So
about
if
the
they
phrase,
haven't
which is
made a
not.
determination of whether it's a conflict or not, but it's possible that it would be a conflict. So that's, we can change that to whatever you'd like. There are often
Which-
cases where a board member, we haven't run into this lately, but there was a case with University Station where we had a board member who was, who saw that they had a potential conflict of interest and were asking the Ethics Commission to opine that they did not have a conflict of interest. There is a process to go through. It's not the attorney of the day with a phone call. There's a written process you can send to the Ethics Commission to have a conflict of interest denied, to have them say, no, there is no conflict there because of these specific circumstances. So we went through a procedure like that at University Station, and it took several months while that conflict of interest was pending, and it eventually was ruled out.
And was the individual recusing himself or herself during that process?
He was recusing himself during that time. Yes. So that just explains an abstention, you're still part of the quorum. A recusal, you are not part of the quorum.
So the ruling is the Ethics Commission as compared to the individual planning board member?
So a planning board member who believes they have a potential conflict of interest puts a notice on file that they have a they have a potential conflict of interest, and they recuse themselves from the meeting. If someone feels that there's a potential conflict of interest that they do not think in their particular circumstances is an actual conflict of interest, they can write to the Ethics Commission and request the Ethics Commission's written determination that there is no conflict of interest to protect.
Like a no action letter with the federal government or some others kind of process.
Yeah.
Essentially.
It doesn't come up often, but I think it's helpful to have in the procedures so that there's no question.
Okay, let's go on.
Okay, public hearings. This explains that we read the hearing notice at the start of a public hearing, and then it gives the order for how the board treats public hearings. So first the applicant or the applicant's representative presents their case, then the chair invites questions and comments first from staff, then from board members, then from other town boards and officials who might be present, and then from abutters to the property and other interested parties. The chair declares the evidentiary portion of the public hearing to be complete, and then the board can deliberate and vote on the application. And then the board closes the public hearing. And you can change the order of that if you choose to. There have been times in the past where the board chose to close its public hearings before deliberating and voting, once the evidentiary part was complete. We switched it to this way for the same reason we continued the blocks public hearing tonight, because something can come up, something can change, and it's often helpful not to have to wait the time to re-advertise.
And just editorially, I know historically we used to go to board members and then staff, but I really appreciate the change to staff then board members, because I find for myself too, when we get staff comments first, sometimes things that I was going to ask are already addressed. So I like going in that order, but obviously if we can change it, but
And you can change it any time. This is the general order that things are taken up in, but you can always change it. Talks a little bit about continuances. Talks about how an applicant can consent to an extension, even if it goes beyond the regulatory time frame, by filing a form with the board and with the town clerk. So this would come up, for instance, in a subdivision hearing or a special permit hearing, which has a fixed date. So a special permit, the board can continue its hearing as many times as necessary. In a subdivision, the board can continue its hearing, but no longer than 180 days. I think if it's a subdivision, a definitive subdivision that had a preliminary subdivision approved, then it's no more than 90 days. So there are statutory requirements that limit how long the board can continue without the applicant's consent. And that this just explains that consent has to be in writing. Board and staff participation. Board members should only speak when called upon by the chair. Those wishing to participate should raise their hand during in-person meetings and use the raised hand function on Zoom during virtual or hybrid meetings. The chair may call to order for repeated failure to do so.
That sounds wrong.
I don't know what that was supposed to say. The chair may call. I think it's supposed to say out of order for repeated failure to do so. I don't think that's an issue. I think that came out of another set of rules and regulations, and I just copied it over. Public participation. This says what Ellen had read at the beginning of the hearing. Speakers must be recognized by the chair before speaking. Speakers must begin by identifying themselves by first and last name, address, and any pertinent affiliations. All questions, comments, or remarks should be directed to the chair and not to the applicant, other speakers, or staff. Speakers shall be brief and to the point. The chair shall determine time limits for speakers if necessary to ensure that all interested parties have the opportunity to be heard. The time limit shall be established prior to the accepting public comment. Speakers shall focus on asking new questions or providing new information and shall avoid repeating previous remarks. So I think those are all policies you already abide by. Executive session. This just states the statutory exclusions for when you are able to call an executive session and states that you must choose one of these and name it in the motion. Responsibilities, this sets forth the authority you have to act under the Subdivision Control Act, the Zoning Act, and the Zoning Bylaw, and it lists the specific regulations and policies that you have to follow. There's a section on applications that describes what an application is, what rules apply, meeting materials. It sets a time limit for receiving these in the attempt to get the board everything it needs soon enough to review before a meeting. So this says that all materials have to be submitted at least 4 days in advance of the meeting at which they're to be considered. That doesn't mean you can't accept something later, but you don't have to accept something later. So if you have an applicant that habitually files last minute plans or last minute materials and you feel that you're unable to review them in the little time that you have, you can rely on this to say that it's not actually a submitted document because it wasn't received in time, and that can be a reason to continue the hearing to give yourself more time to review. This is the next one I had referenced before, a limit on the number of applications. It says no more than 4 applications shall be considered by the board at any one meeting unless the chair determines more or less is appropriate for a given meeting based on the nature of the applications or extraordinary time constraints. So where this might come in, during the general bylaws, zoning bylaw amendment hearings, you're very busy and those take a long time to discuss. You might want to decide that at that time of year, you only want to take 3 applications that come in, not 4. Or if you knew tonight there was an application that would take a lot of discussion, had we had excessive numbers of applications that were looking to come on tonight, we might say our agenda is full even though it only had 2 applications on it because you knew how long that would take. So this gives you a little flexibility. It says that in the case of a 5th application that is received before the filing deadline, where time is of the essence to meet statutory deadlines associated with an application, so for instance, a subdivision application, the chair may schedule 1 or more additional meetings outside of the board's posted meeting schedule for timely consideration of an application. Otherwise, that 5th application, 6th application would just go to the next scheduled meeting. There's another section on application withdrawal. This addresses what happens if the application has already been advertised. If it's been advertised, the applicant can't simply withdraw. They have to request the board's leave to withdraw. If it has not yet been advertised, we just allow them to withdraw applications. It's a section on meeting minutes, explaining what needs to be in the minutes, which is what's in them today, date, time, place of meeting, list of board members and staff present, summary of discussion, but then exact wording of motions, of actions taken, roll call votes. Then we have a list of documents that are exhibits at the meeting and any other actions taken at the meeting, including any executive session motions and roll call votes. Talks about if the minutes have not yet been approved, that we would offer draft minutes to someone who is requesting them. There's a section on site visits. It states that informal site visits can be held by any member at their choosing. They can go do a windshield survey or they can actually visit a property. If a formal site visit is needed, where it's important that all members see the property at the same time and hear from the applicant a description of the property, there's a procedure for that. It's not a public meeting, but it is something that is, the date is set in the course of a public meeting and people are notified when that will occur. The public does not have to be present and does not have to be allowed onto the site. That's always up to the owner of the property, whether they want the public to come in or not. It's another section on subcommittees and task forces. Just saying that you can have a subcommittee or a task force if you feel it's necessary, but any meeting of the subcommittee or task force must comply with the open meeting law. Annual report, that's something that we do every single year. In fact, I'm working on the one now. It was actually due Monday, so I'm a little bit behind. I will get that to the chair to review. We have a report every year that just simply it's the highlights of what was done in the past year, and then a section on validity. Standard language. So I guess the questions are, if you'd like to take this back, review it and make any changes to it. If you have other areas you feel that the policies and procedures need to address, something we haven't touched on, that you've had concerns or questions about over the last year, we can expand upon it as well.
I would suggest that we promulgate a more robust actual conflict of interest policy, just as compared, because this is small and a couple sprinkled in blurbs, but I think that would be helpful as compared to just part of this. I think that would be something which might include the ex parte and other aspects of it.
So the ex parte is something that is not in the conflict of interest. It's not something that applies to a planning board unless you adopt it in your policies. So that's something that it's a good practice, but it's not a state law requirement. It applies to attorneys. It applies to the Zoning Board of Appeals, I believe, but I don't believe it applies to a planning board unless it's specifically stated. This came
So
up.
I could pick up the phone and talk to Giorgio?
It wouldn't be a good idea,
I
but I don't
would
believe
never
there's
have
anything.
and would not, but
I don't
I
believe there's
actually
any-
thought it was precluded. I assumed it was.
So this came up during the FS1 hearing, where the applicant was the town, and there were representatives of the town who
Oh,
were
you're
speaking to
right.
planning board members.
You're
And it was determined that that
right.
was not ex parte communication because there was no formal procedure in place to prevent it.
Nor, can you scroll down a little bit? I just want to see the rest of that sentence.
Yeah, Nora, I actually appreciate that because even though it
That's
was
a good reference. I forgot about that.
yeah, that was immediately what came to mind. I'm less concerned about that with applicants outside of other town entities, but I appreciate having a formal policy because while it may not have been against any rules, I personally found it quite awkward. So I prefer to have a policy in place that really sets the expectation that that's not something we're going to do. So
Well, especially because we have various, I mean, school committee, I mean, we have various aspects that certainly can come to us that could create an incredibly awkward situation.
Yes,
Yes.
and there have been times in the past where we have had applicants who made board members uncomfortable by approaching the applicants, by calling them at home or by, approaching them in the grocery store and talking to them about their projects. And if we have a hard and fast rule that prevents that, you have an easy answer that you simply cannot discuss that. So it's in here for the convenience of the board members and to avoid any appearance of impropriety.
no,
Don't put it in here, it doesn't apply.
no, I'm a supporter of that for all the reasons you've outlined, and I think it's really helpful. Jess. You're muted.
Jess.
I was surprised that you would let someone look at draft meeting minutes before they were accepted.
So that's something we don't have a choice on.
Is that a
That's
state?
something-
Is that a state law thing?
It is. It's part of the open meeting law that we have.
I didn't know
minutes have
that.
to be approved within 2 weeks or at the first available meeting. And if they are not approved at that time, then a draft of the minutes have to be produced for the public.
Okay.
So say someone missed the meeting and said, "Oh, can I have the drafts from last night's meeting?" They can
Not
do that?
last night. No. So
Oh,
we would.
Okay. So
wait
you
the
said 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I was actually wondering about that, but it sounds like there's superseding laws about that, so it's not really optional.
It's not.
Any
Most-
other comments?
I mean, most of this is ministerial, administrative, etc. Which is why I kind of think I would not fold conflict of interest or ex parte communications. Now that you reminded me of that, Nora, I think that should be, a separate and probably more vetted and robust policy. just to make sure it's absolutely clear and the language is clear.
Yeah, I could see that as well. And one of the suggestions I'm going to make, Nora, is probably, do we need like a disclaimer saying any procedural rule described herein, you know, if
Maybe waived.
if not objected to at the moment is waived and does not constitute a defect in the board's proceeding or consideration of the matter.
Or could be waived by a majority or by the chair. I mean, the chair should probably have discretion at times.
Yeah, if you'd
Just
like to suggest
yeah.
that language, I'd be happy to add it.
Yeah, yep. I'll send something.
Mike, what do you think about just having an actual conflict of interest ex parte communications separate from this? Because most of this, like I say, is, ministerial, the vast majority of this.
I don't, yeah, I got to think about the conflict. I mean, we have a pretty robust state law on conflict of interest, and I don't know, government agencies, their policies on their internal policies say you have to review and follow the conflict of interest law, right? Like, I don't know what else we could add.
Yeah, the attempt here was to say just that you have to
Yeah,
follow the conflict of interest law, but then it was trying to give explanation for what that meant without repeating the entire conflict of interest law. So
yep, yep.
we can either leave out the explanation or we can put a more robust explanation, but I don't think I would copy over the whole law, and I would be careful to have too detailed policy because the more detailed it is, if it's not
The
copied,
worse you get.
it be
Yeah,
violation of the law.
there's decisions and there's regulations, and I can propose something for that too. Um, but yeah, how I see it in agency handbooks and stuff, if you just Google online, is they follow the conflict of interest law, and it doesn't go into details on particular situations, right?
So you would keep it in this or some separate but short and sweet? What's your position, Mike?
I would say separate and short and sweet, but I need to think about it. I need to look and do some research. Yeah.
Okay. Would you include the ex parte position, even though because that's not under state law?
That's not, if you don't include that in your own policies, it doesn't apply to the planning board. So you could either do it as a standalone document. My thought was having this all in one place makes it easy, especially for a new board member to just hand them, these are your rules.
I'm okay with it, because it's an applicant, right? It's not like a warrant article where you're talking to members of the public and kind of getting the temperature of the town. These are applicants who have specific requests, usually commercially related. I'm okay with the language.
Well, my concern is when it's part of the town, because that actually, I think where it's a Giorgio or it's any typical commercial applicant is not going to be an issue. I can't imagine there's an issue. But there could be a situation where you have a town
Yes.
agency as an applicant and you bump into
Got it.
a school committee member, getting a coffee or muffin house or something like that, and then all of a sudden
Yep.
there's a discussion, and that's the concern.
And that's what it's designed to avoid. It's designed to give you the ability to say, I can't talk to you about this. And then come to the next meeting and you can say to the chair at that meeting, this situation arose. Can we have permission to speak to, the applicant in this case outside of a hearing? So there's an option to do that. It's just has to be done in a transparent manner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's important because as we've seen particularly with municipal projects on the horizon where
Yeah.
another town entity will be the applicant, it's come up before, and I don't particularly like having those conversations outside of a meeting. And I get why the instinct is for some members of other boards say, hey, can I just, some people
Can
have
we talk?
offered their opinion or not even, I've had other, in certain circumstances, board members or, applicants have offered their thoughts on a project outside of the meeting. And it's like, I don't really want to discuss this outside of so I think it's good to have that guideline or this rule for us to be able to cite to kind of help extract ourselves from that situation if we find ourselves in it. So that's good. And I like the idea of having, if some of the ethics stuff needs to be more robust, I leave that to the folks with, the attorneys. But I think I like having it here if we need to break out some of it. I think the ex parte stuff is good in this document. I don't know that from my perspective, I don't know that it needs to be separated out, but I understand the thoughts about the conflict of interest stuff if we want to do something more with that.
I might amend my suggestion to have the conflict only out, but I would change the ex parte communication to just simply directly add, including applications for town agencies or municipal applications, or something that puts it very expressly that we are also including in this ex parte communication section that if the town is the applicant, there should be no discussion. Yeah. And then I would just move the conflict of interest parts out and put that in, let Mike be, the first cut or whatever.
Yeah, I don't even know if we need it. I mean, we all know about this law. I don't know what restating it does. We can think about it.
I think one important piece of this is procedures for informing staff when it does arise. I think that's
Yeah.
more of an administrative piece that ties to this document where we need to know in advance if you're going to recuse yourself, so we can coordinate an associate member or anything like that if necessary.
Yeah, but Amanda, what if you don't? Because I've made calls to the Ethics Commission and it takes days sometimes for them to call back. I mean, it's supposed to be an attorney at the day, but it could be multiple days and you don't have the answer yet.
Yeah, it definitely can be slow. I think even just notifying us that there's a concern, we don't have to go through the concern, but we can put things in place still. And then if we find out right before, oh, we're good to go, great. But if not,
Well-
at least we've been able to take the steps to plan accordingly.
Well, what do you need to put in place except for a quorum? And presumably, I mean, we're virtually always, we've only had an occasional one person miss usually.
Yeah, it would mainly be the quorum unless there's another situation that you can think of, Nora. But that would be the main issue.
Yeah, it's a quorum or counting the number of meetings that someone has missed. So if it's a special permit and we're down to fewer than 4 members because someone has missed a meeting and then someone else has developed a conflict, it might be not so much the quorum, but the members available to vote. So why don't we take this up at the at meeting on the 21st? If Mike, if you could review the whole document, but especially the conflict of interest, and get us then we'll have the final document ready for the board to consider on the 21st. And then if I could ask the board to select 1 or 2 other sets of rules and regulations that you'd be willing to tackle at that meeting so that we can chip away at these, maybe 2 at a time. That would be helpful. I would recommend probably the EIDR regulations next, and then the special permit regulations, because those are the 2 that are most used.
Yeah, particularly since we're already past the 10 o'clock deadline, Nora.
Yes, exactly.
Question, Nora, do we, or to staff in general, do we have a sense of what our workload for the next meeting would be? Because if we can do 3 of these, that would be lovely. But if it sounds like we're already getting a lot of applications.
We've continued Giorgio's application for the block, and we have a new application for 260 Washington. It's a proposed daycare facility, which I expect to be a detailed, involved discussion.
Is that the former Sally and Rocco's?
It is.
Yes.
Yes.
Nice.
So let's do,
Not on our agenda. We can't go into the details, but it's a new public hearing, so I think that I think you would be best to just stick to 2 at that meeting.
2 plus this one, correct,
Yes.
Nora?
Yes.
Okay.
So maybe
plus
take
this one. Oh, right, because
this one I think will be brief because Mike will have gotten us a perfect document and we'll be ready to adopt it.
It will
And
just
then
bless
you'll
it.
have EIDR and special permit.
Some of the other ones are pretty short too. I will be able to knock the other ones out quickly later.
I'm good with the IDR and special permit in addition to a second pass on rules and procedures if everyone else is.
Yeah, because those are used a lot and we need to get those.
Yeah, I think that's good. Do you need a action from us, Nora, or just to?
Let me give you a motion.
While you're looking for that, as this is a public hearing, I would open up the floor to public comment. If there's anyone who would like to offer public comment on the rules and regs, please raise your hand or enter your comment or question into the Q&A. Just please include your full name and address for the record. I'm not seeing any public comments, so I would entertain a motion.
We doing it April 21st or May 19th, Nora? This is
Oh.
May.
I had done that thinking that you were going to adopt a couple of them tonight, so why don't we say April 21st?
Yeah. I move that the planning board continue the public hearing for amendments to various planning board rules and regulations, standards, guidelines, and meetings procedures to the planning board meeting, which will be held via Zoom on Tuesday, April 21, 2026 at 7 p.m., where a Zoom link and associated call-in numbers will be provided on the town's calendar on the homepage at https://www.townhall.westwood.ma.us/.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll take roll call. Phil?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Maureen? You're muted. Still muted. There we go.
You gotta vote, Maureen.
Sorry, Maureen.
Did. Oh, you didn't
You are
hear.
muted.
There we are.
I knew
Okay,
I was muted. Aye.
thank you. And Tim,
Past 10.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. That motion carries. To that end, we are past 10. Nora, we have to act on the A&R schedule-wise, correct?
You do, but if you'd like to take a break first, you can do that.
I wouldn't mind a short break. I would entertain a motion to take a 3-minute recess.
So
I
moved.
move to take a 3-minute recess. Yep.
Right. Need a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call. Mike?
Aye.
Maureen?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. We will reconvene shortly. Reconvened at 10:13 p.m.
I don't think you have Maureen.
Oh,
We
you're
don't have
right.
Maureen.
Oh, right. We
Ooh.
not like at all.
Let me
In fact,
check.
she dropped off. She's not in the Zoom.
Yeah, she's not in the attendees.
I'm wondering if her computer did something while she stepped away from it. All right, we can give it a moment. I amend my previous statement, although we do have a quorum, but I wouldn't mind giving it a second. Amanda, can you reach out maybe or
Or, yeah, I'm working on it.
thank you. Should we wait to reconvene until we have everybody, or can Maureen kind of just
You can
pop back?
join as she comes back in.
Okay.
Now we don't have Phil.
Oh no.
Here we go. There we
There's
go.
Phil.
Okay.
I'm
Yay.
right here. I'm just
All
trying
right.
not to show everyone that I'm eating something because I've had no food.
All right. So you can reconvene, and if Maureen's able to get back in, she can
Okay.
join wherever we are.
Okay. Let the record show that the meeting is reconvened at 10:15 p.m. Well, I was just gonna give a little business. We do, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, because of the statutes and the limits on A&Rs, we do have to address those this evening.
You do, yes, because you only have 21 days from receipt of of a complete application. So, and these have been determined to be complete.
Okay, so I would propose we take agenda items 4 and 5. I believe they're very straightforward. Phil, I'm sorry to do this again, but I would recommend we table 40Y because I would like to give that discussion the time and scrutiny, not scrutiny, attention that it deserves.
Completely agree. No, I totally agree.
Thank you. And then I think we should take minutes because those are usually very quick and we like getting those approved. And if anyone has anything for agency and committee updates or miscellaneous updates, they can share them briefly, but I'm happy to just kind of take up the things that we really need to and table the others unless anyone objects. I don't see anyone objecting. Still, is Maureen still having trouble?
Has not come back. Yeah, so it could be that her computer's glitching. So
Yeah.
I, I think we're fine to go ahead with an A&R. So the first one is 509, 529 High Street. This is actually part two of two-piece A&R plan. You approved the first part, which was involving 541 and 529 High Street. So that was the professional building and the vacant residential lot next to it, where they moved the lot line so that the commercial property, the professional building property, grew by, I think it was about 1,500 square feet. And now what the applicant is looking to do is to take property to add to 529 from 509 High Street, a residential property to the right, two homes to the right of the vacant lot. That property owner is willing to sell them land, and that would bring their parcel to the minimum size required for development, which is 40,000 square feet. Both properties remain consistent with their frontage, nothing changes, so both properties remain compliant with the A&R requirements. Elijah Romulus reviewed this plan before he left and found it to be compliant with your rules and regulations and recommended that you grant approval, or not approval, but vote to endorse the plan.
Thank you. Did any board members have any questions or comments on this?
Seems straightforward.
Yeah. Excellent. Looks like no. Yeah, I appreciated the vetting on this. It's complete and I see no impediments to us taking action.
Nope.
All right, then if you could remove that, Amanda, I will
Mhm.
share the motion.
Oh my gosh.
We have Maureen back. Yes, Maureen.
Oh my word.
Did you have any questions on the A&R or?
Yeah, I got it. I got the tail end of this one. Now, is it 509 and 529 or is it 509 and 541?
It's 509 and 529, but 529 and 541 were before you a month and a half ago, maybe. I can't even remember the date exactly, but maybe it was even earlier than that.
It was in the fall.
Okay.
Oh, was
Yeah,
that
because
long
in
ago?
one of the papers it said
Yeah.
509 and 541, so I was wondering.
So
Okay.
this is 529 and 509. 509 is giving a small piece of land to 529.
Mhm.
529 already gave land to 541. What it
Mhm.
essentially does is it makes 529 a developable lot where it is not now. It is short of area, and so it's not developable. This makes it a buildable lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike, you're up.
I move that the planning board find the approval not required application for 509 and 529 High Street dated February 26, 2026 to be complete and that the board vote to endorse the submitted plan as not requiring approval under the subdivision control law.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll take roll call. Tim,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Vote aye as well. That motion carries. And when they're ready, we'll have to go to the police station to sign the Mylar and the other copies, right?
Correct, yes.
We'll keep an eye out for those emails.
Now, the next one is an A&R plan involving 15 Connor Street. So this is one that was before the planning board a few years ago. There was a piece of land that 15 Connor Street acquired from their neighbor on Alcott Lane. But because one of the parcels, the small piece that they acquired was registered land and the rest of their property was not registered land, they were not able to combine the two parcels without first petitioning the land court to deregister the parcel that was acquired from Alcott Lane. So that has now been done. It took a long time. It often does. When you go through land court, it can take up to 3 years. I think this was over a year, but not that long. So they now have, the land court has approved this particular plan exactly as it's shown here. And so I would strongly recommend you endorse the plan exactly as it's shown. And what this will finally do is allow that small parcel to be combined with the remainder of 15 Connors Street, which was the intention more than a year ago when the first plan was approved or was endorsed.
All right, thank you. Any board member questions or comments on this?
Nothing.
Nope.
Right?
No.
And I can share.
Thank you.
I'm ready. I
Go ahead,
move that the
Maureen.
plan- Huh? Yeah, I was starting. I
Go
had to make
ahead.
sure I wasn't on mute. I move that the planning board find the approval not required application for 15 Collins Street dated January 20, 2026 to be complete and that the board vote to endorse the submitted plan as not requiring approval under the subdivision control law.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll take roll call. Phil,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Maureen?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. That motion carries. Great. All right. So our next agenda item would be, Maureen, before you were able to get back on, we agreed to table the 40 wide discussion in keeping with our new proposed guideline, rules, procedures, policies. We're going to table that to a future meeting when we can really give it the attention it deserves. We will move on to agenda item 7, minutes. We have minutes from our March 10th, 2026 meeting and our public hearing at the FinCom meeting from March 25th, 2026. Did everyone get a chance to review them? And does anyone have any edits they would like to propose?
Yes and no.
Excellent.
Same.
All right. If folks are comfortable with the minutes as presented, we could entertain a motion, or maybe two. I'm not sure if the motion is to take them together or separately.
I think the motion was drafted to take them separately, but I do think everybody was here at both meetings, so if you want to take them together, I can quickly change the motion.
Sure. Yeah, I think you're right. We were all present at both meetings, so we don't have any abstentions.
There you go.
All right.
I move that the planning board approve the minutes for the meetings of March 10th, 2026 and March 25th, 2026 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, I'll take roll call. Mike?
Aye.
Maureen?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
And Tim?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. That motion carries. Thanks as always, Jess. All right. Does anyone have a next agenda item is agency and committee updates? Does anyone have anything to report out from any other meetings? All right. Yes, my other assignments have been pretty quiet, so I have nothing to share either. All right, agenda item 9, miscellaneous updates. Any miscellaneous updates or administrative items?
Just one item to let you know that the position of town planner has been posted on the town's website as an open position, and I'll keep you updated as we receive resumes.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, then our final agenda item is upcoming meetings. We have upcoming board meetings on April 21st, 2026, May 19th, 2026, and June 2nd, 2026. Our town election is April 28th, 2026, and our annual town meeting is May 4th, 2026. All right. So everyone please vote in town elections and attend our town meeting, both very important. Does anyone have anything else to address this evening? I believe it would fall under a business reasonably anticipated to come before the board. All right. Well, if we have no other agenda, oh yes, Maureen. You're muted.
At least I'm consistent, right?
Yes.
Nora, what were the 2 or the 3 that we have to do? Were you going to put those out there?
Yes,
Please.
EIDR,
Yeah.
special permit, and then the planning board policies and procedures.
Right.
Thank
And
you.
you'll get an updated copy of the planning board policies and procedures after Mike does a little bit of work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We entertain a motion to wrap it up.
Sure would. Thank you.
I hereby move to wrap it up.
I believe that. Can we entertain that motion, or do we have to say adjourn?
Do
We
we-
have to say adjourn.
Let's wrap it up.
Okay, I hereby move to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on adjournment? I love saying that. Seeing none, I'll take roll call. Tim?
Aye.
Aye.
Did Mike answer? Did I say? I thought I said Phil.
Oh, I thought you
Oh.
said Mike.
I
Sorry.
That's
thought he
okay.
said- Okay, I'll say aye, and now you can say Mike.
All right, Mike,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Thank you all, and I'm looking for. The new policies are working already. Very
Well, look at
excited.
this.
10:28.
Maureen.
Nice job, everybody.
Maureen,
Yes.
get to bed. You're already falling asleep.